Do you love delicious meat? Do you like to see it dripping juices? Do you like to see it covered with cheese, served in front of you, hot and ready to go?
Oh.
Then you need to rustle on up
Oh.
to Elmer's Meat Wagon. Get yourself a hot cup of man meat. Elmer, it's what's for dinner.
Hell yeah. And a snack? You know, whatever you want. An appetizer, it's a tease.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, whatever you order, you're going to be let down. I'll tell you that right now.
I mean, you'll still be covered in juices at the end of the night, so regardless.
Very true. But you won't be let down by this here, episode 118 of Just Some Gamers. Welcome on in, everybody. I'm ELMMERFUDD, your host. Joining me, as always, is my co-host, the effervescent Russell.
Man. The venerable ELMMERFUDD. It's always great to get an introduction from you. Although I think you may have set us up a little too high, right? I don't know if they won't be disappointed by episode 118, but we'll certainly try to make sure that that's not the case.
I'm not saying it's going to be a good episode, but the other 117 episodes have set us in a spot that I think no matter what, it's going to be okay.
Like what I was talking about earlier, I don't know if you include the before show with the after show, right? With the actual show, not the after show.
Yeah.
Anyway, you want to be right in the middle, right? You don't want to be so good that people are like, man, I can't wait for this episode to come out, and then they're disappointed when it doesn't come out.
Exactly.
But you also don't want to be so bad that they don't listen to you. So I feel like we're right in that sweet spot, where it's like we could be good, but not really good.
I want to make sure our show's in that pocket where you've listened to everything you have downloaded for the week, and there's just a couple more hours of work on a Friday evening, and you're like, fuck, I guess I have to install it, download it to listen to one more thing.
Not the worst thing in the world.
No, but like we want to make sure we're a last resort.
Right. Sure.
Yeah. That's what we bring to the podcasting table.
We don't disappoint if we're if we're right in here. Up here we can disappoint. Down here we can disappoint.
Yeah.
But right here,
that's
one of those things. It's like going to see what was it? Silent Night with David Arbor. Right?
Okay, yeah.
When I saw the previews, I was like, you know what? This looks like a good ride. I really wasn't expecting anything from it. And I didn't really get like the best movie ever, but it was good. And it was a fun ride.
Yeah.
That's what you can expect from the show.
There you go. It's going to be a fun ride. Yeah. Buckle up, boys. Well, I mean, out of the gate,
I'm never disappointed with that either.
I've got to talk about a couple of things right out of the gate here, buddy. First and foremost, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not here for the live show, twitch.tv/ELMMERFUDD Games, usually Thursday nights, but we had to push it back to Saturday for life things. It happens. Since last episode, where those of you who listened understand that Russ dipped out, got robotic, kind of lagged out a few times, my man upgraded his equipments this last week. He looks crisp. Clean. The camera angle, sensuous. Okay. The vocal tones.
My shirt.
Yeah, dude.
You can see my cleavage and everything.
Oh, I want to be in there. I'm mad I'm in this room and not that room when I'm doing this podcast.
I'm a little mad that we're not in the same room too.
Yeah. Well, last time we did that, it was a terrible show.
Okay. But we've learned since then that we should not have two microphones set up, or if we do, we need to have somebody who does sound that can be like, no.
This is how it's done.
Talking.
Yeah.
Echoes are bad.
Someday we'll do it again, and it'll sound great. Because listen, that's probably the most fun I've ever had doing the show, but no one could enjoy it.
I know. I feel like it was such a good show because, like, when you're in the same room, like, there's a little bit more, right?
Oh, absolutely, man.
And even now, where it's like, oh, I can actually see him moving. It's closer to real time, and I got a great.
I've noticed, and I've never been able to grasp this magic again since that episode. But I podcast so much better when another man's jerking me off at the same time.
I got hands of gold.
You really do. The Midas touch. Well, you were mentioning, one, obviously you got a better camera and everything, but you mentioned you had a story on figuring out the Wi-Fi situation so your sound quality wouldn't dip out on us. Tell us this story.
So we've been in this house since April. So three months and some change. When we first moved in, they were like, "Oh, well, when you bring you in, we're gonna take you off of, forget what it's called, but we're gonna put you on fiber, right?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
have
yeah.
fiber in this area. Great, fiber, right? You get 1,000 megabits a second, right? It's like, oh, that's awesome, great, that'll be perfect because I do a lot of stuff on the computer. I work from home. I run a side business from home. I do this. I play games, so I like my internet speeds. So I'm like, oh, this will be great. And since then, especially in my office, internet speeds are just all over the place. I can get stuff done, but like if I'm in a meeting like this, like on Discord, or if I'm in a meeting over Teams, it drops, and it's really really bad. And so I talked. I talked with somebody, and they're like, get a Wi-Fi extender. I was like, okay. So I went to Best Buy. I got a Wi-Fi extender, plugged it in. It helped a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But as you can see from last week,
It did not help.
significantly.
Yeah.
Like that. And I was like, before I was using a Mac, and I was like, especially if we're going with this thing and we're going hog on it, I'm gonna upgrade a little bit, right? Get
Let's
myself a
go.
camera that'll plug into my PC. I've already got my microphone. That way, I don't have to swap it out either on my laptop because that's what I've been using before. Bad idea. Don't do it. But if it's what you got, I guess it's what you got. And so the Wi-Fi extender didn't work great. So finally, what happened is I called Spectrum and I'm like, you guys need to get a technician out here or something because this is untenable.
Yeah.
I can't keep doing this.
This is not what we were
crazy.
promised.
Well, and I had just come from a meeting where it was like I kept dropping out of the meeting, and so I'd miss half of what they said, and I was like, this is crap.
Yeah.
So they were like, well, why don't we, I can see that everything's coming into your receiver great, your modem's great, your router's great. It's your devices that seem to be interrupted. And I was like, well, what causes that? And they're like, oh, is there a kitchen in the way? And I'm like, yeah, but when I'm in the bathroom in the master bedroom, there's not a kitchen in the way, And they were like, oh, well, bathrooms and kitchens are a big problem. And I was like, okay, sure, whatever. So I finally I got them from Spectrum specifically. I got these Wi-Fi dots, is what they call them.
Okay. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
They're just like little dishes.
Yeah.
They literally look like a plug-in satellite dish. Is kind of what they are.
So awesome.
So I got a couple of them, and I get excited because I'm like, oh, finally, maybe this will finally work. Maybe we can finally get this taken care of because it's been months of having this terrible, terrible service. So I go and I plug them in, and they're blinking, because when they're blinking, that means that they're not connecting.
Mm-hmm.
And the directions they sent me, so it says, go to the app and follow the directions to set up your Wi-Fi dot. Go to the app. It says, I go on, set up equipment, boom, go in there. Okay, I see the Wi-Fi dot. Okay, click on it. It goes to the website, spectrum.net. I go to spectrum.net. I'm looking at it. I'm going, oh, okay. And then it goes, oh, to redirections, go to the app. And here's the link. And I'm like, okay. Click on the link. It goes to the home screen of the app.
Perfect.
I do that a few times, right? Just to be sure.
Yeah.
I'm in the insanity cycle here. And I'm like, this is not helpful. And so finally I'm like, I tried going to different areas on the app. I tried figuring it out. I'm like, I was at this point, I'm starting to lose it a little bit. Like I'm starting to be like, okay, just when you call them Russell, it's not their fault. They are not the person who did this.
It's just they have a job. They're just trying to get through it.
So I call them. And that's the first thing I lead in with. I'm like, look, I'm not frustrated with you, but I'm very frustrated with this situation. What the hell am I supposed to do with these Wi-Fi dots? Because it says they're supposed to connect automatically because they've already been added to my account. And that's bullcrap. So I call her. She's like, oh, they just need to be activated. And I'm like, she goes, you should be able to follow the steps that were provided on the app. And I'm like, no. And she's like, that's okay. I'll take care of it. And I'm like, so she's like, so she finally takes care of it. It gets all set up. And then I'm testing my internet speeds. I could be in the same room with the router. Same room. I was getting 29 Mbps. 29.
That's awful.
That's awful. That is awful. As soon as I plugged in the Wi-Fi dots, even not connected by an Ethernet to them, it jumps up to 279 Mbps.
Yep. That sounds like what you'd be getting.
So it kind of feels like they set it up to where you get bad service off of the routers so that you have to buy at least one Wi-Fi dot.
I wouldn't put it, honestly, I wouldn't put it past them.
I mean, they're only like $3 extra a month.
Yeah, but that adds up over time if they just go, well, all you got to do is this little thing to make it better.
Yeah, and it's like the difference is significant to the point to where I'm like,
that doesn't make sense. Yeah.
This
what she did, the dot's not doing anything. She just went into your router and went, oh, here we go. Now we'll make it work. Yeah. You just unlocked the DLC for your router.
And the funny thing is the Wi-Fi dots, when they're working, there's not supposed to be any indication that it's working at all. There's no light.
Yeah.
It just is supposed to not do anything, which makes me go, is this thing even working? Like you said, like they just went into the router and were like, oh yeah, let's make sure that's working.
Well, because they know you're not going to unplug it to test the speed, because what if that fucks it all up again? You're not going to do that.
Yeah.
You should.
No, I'm
no
not.
one in the right mind would do that.
No. I'm just like, nope, no. I'm not going to mess with it. It's working.
Yeah.
and like Gator said, he's like, I got my own modem. The only problem is that you can't get your own modem when you're using fiber. They actually install something into the wall. So you have to use their modem. Or else I would have.
I wonder if it was a modem for like the 87 or something like that.
Huh?
A modem from like 1987.
Then it might work. And the funny thing is like I have an old modem from them that I forgot to send back and therefore paid for, and now it's mine. That I was like, maybe I should just plug this up, because that one was the one that I had in the apartment and it worked pretty good.
You probably should have, but I mean, now everything works, so like,
Yeah, I mean, everything's working now, so whatever.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, man, it helps the podcast, and that's all that matters, right?
And honestly, that was the reason that I did it, because I was like, you know what?
Can I tell you, Russ?
I'm in this.
Threes of people are so thankful to you.
Threes of people. It's for our fans, baby. It's just for our fans.
Absolutely. We're riding this baby to the top, dude. But at the end of the day, dude, I mean, you look so crisp and beautiful. It's going to help your work, So, yeah, you look better at work. People are going to be like, why does he suddenly look better? Did he start an OnlyFans? Like,
why is his system all set up?
That was my favorite part of having friends that worked in offices when COVID started, is like doing all these calls from home, and they'd be like, all their coworkers like, why is your camera so fucking good? Because they're all streamers and stuff like that. So they just had really good equipment. They're like,
no reason.
Yeah, not stuff I want to share with any of you.
Well, no, that story is probably not good anyway. It's not good enough for the podcast. I do have limits.
Really? Limits?
I mean,
Well, now you kind of have to tell the story. I think we'll be the judge if it's bad or not.
I had a coworker, and it was one of those where like I'd be on a meeting with her, and I could tell that she had like an OBS background, and I was like, she streams. I was like, huh. And I'm not too sure of this. I think she got let go because she was streaming during work hours. And they found out.
That's not. I thought you were going to say she joined a call and had like a fucking dragon dildo in behind her or something. Oh,
I don't talk about my my work colleagues like that.
Okay. Yeah. Your silence speaks volumes.
No. She just you couldn't even see her background because she had that OBS overlay. No.
Right on.
I do wish that she did, because that would have been really funny to me.
Well, my favorite part is like, how long does it go before someone's like, we should really say something? Or does everyone just jointly decide not to say anything and it just goes on?
It would be a really interesting meeting to see exactly who knew what it was and who
Yeah. You see the DMs hit around and someone goes, oh.
Right. That's one of those, like, I don't know if you've ever experienced this. For me, because I'm virtual, like, there will be the meeting, and then sometimes there's a side conversation that's going on that doesn't include the clients. or some people in the meeting, and that's like, what is that on that person's shelf over there? Yep. Is that what I think it is? Yes, it is.
Yes, it
That
is.
is a dragon dildo. You are correct.
And that's
There's
a big
also
one too.
Tentacle dildo next to it.
Those are where it's at, man.
Aren't all dragon dildos big though? Shouldn't they be big?
Well, I think, there's different types of dragons, we don't need to get into it here,
Yeah, but they're all significantly bigger than people. I think like the smaller ones are wyverns or drakes, right? Like that's a thing.
Yeah. Yeah, so it could be a drake or a wyvern dildo. I'm sure those exist.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Which would probably look exactly the same as a dragon.
Maybe there's a weird growth spurt. There might be little dragons.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to represent.
Exactly, man. You got to work with what you got when you're a dragon. Because at the end of the day, even if you're a small dragon, you're still a fucking dragon.
Right. Well, I mean, I would rather be a dragon.
I'd
rather be one of those dragons that like can turn into somebody.
Oh, that has like the human form. Yeah.
Like I love those stories. Like there aren't enough of those stories, except in erotic fiction.
Yeah. Which we read a lot of. But
there was actually a book I read a while back. The Handbook to Subjugation or something like that.
Jesus.
Or it was basically like how to be a Dark Lord.
Yeah.
Right? Is what the title of the book was, and it was like this guy had found one.
It's Not a Phase, Mom.
Right. And so but that was his origin, like a dragon in human form, had sex with his mom, and then she had him, and so he was like a half dragon. But then he became a Draco Lich.
What the fuck?
Yeah. No, it takes like a hard right turn, and you're like, whoa, dude.
This is some Othello shit. Jesus Christ.
Then he hunts down his dad and he eats it.
But no, back to those stories though. Like the moment where they go, hey, I trust you with this information and transform. I would love to do that. Like, imagine me and you've been friends for whatever fucking long we have. And I come down to Texas for a hangout. I'm like, dude, I've had this secret my whole life. Boof. And I turn into a fucking dragon in front of you.
I would be like, I'm a dragon rider.
Because I would off me.
I would like duct tape myself to you. I'd be like, no, I am never getting off of you ever again.
Like a sleeping bag with llamas, man. Like a sleeping bag with llamas.
Oh gosh, it took me a second. I was like, sleeping bag. Oh, I'm a merman.
Merman. You looked comfy again.
It was the warmest I was that entire trip.
It's true. We were looking through photo albums the other day because Izzy got really interested in it randomly, and I found that photo, and I was like, "Hey, that's Uncle Russ." She's like, "What?" So I had to tell her the whole story.
Her reaction was, "Jeez, he got fat."
The real question is, what sort of dragon would you be coming in from that guy Maple?
Oh,
that's a tough one.
I'll let you go first.
What type of dragon I would be? It depends on the fantasy world, what kind of universe you're talking about. Because like WoW has a bunch of different style of dragons. You got your Game of Thrones dragons. You got your Lord of the Rings dragons. You got your Dragonlance dragons. Everything has its own dragons.
Right.
I don't know, something bronzy. I like a bronze dragon is pretty cool looking. It's not gold, so it's not like, over the top and flashy, but still looks good in the sunlight with some nice scales.
Man, I feel called out. Jeez.
You're my bronze little boy. A glorious wing spread.
You've already got one of those.
One of those, yeah.
I'm talking about his penis.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I thought you were talking about when if you stretch out the skin to the ball sacks, that's the wing spread. Yeah.
Oh, you can't. The camera's not quite low enough.
My favorite part is when I do my wingspan and Russell shoves his face in there and just goes, "Silence of the Lambs." It's the best.
It puts the lotion on the skin.
You know, like a nice horn coming off right at the front, just one solid horn.
Sure.
Yeah, some spikes going on the back. I think I want the barbed tail.
So like a Hungarian horntail kind of thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Do that.
So, yeah. With some like black accents going through.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, so what color would you be? You said bronze.
Bronze, yeah.
With like some black accents.
With
so
some
like
black accents.
Jeez.
Say it.
So I like an old statue, like an antique statue that's kind of got that what's it called? The antique look, but it's called something.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm so sorry.
Like when you see old pieces of metal and they've got like the grime on them that's like
rust
part of the metal now. No, it's not rust. It's called patina.
Oh. Yeah,
patina.
Yeah, isn't that your knee?
No, that's your patella.
Oh, okay, right. My bad.
So close.
Yeah, dang it. Yeah,
what did you do to your arm?
I was going. Where on my arm?
I see this huge scratch.
Oh, right here. This is the dog. Yeah. Fucked me up, dude.
Oh,
I was wrestling with her, and she just won.
Was it a knife fight with a gorilla?
It was a knife fight with a gorilla, dude. There was a school bus of children that were in trouble. I had to save their lives. But she got me good. I've got that. I've got like right under my left tit. There's 2 giant claw marks going across my chest. And they're all bruised up. Like it hurts to like lean over here. It's bad. But
she's a puppy, right?
She's a puppy.
So in that puppy, like I want to wrestle with you stage.
Oh, yeah. And everyone else is too scared to wrestle. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'll sacrifice. I love wrestling with the dog. So, and then I go nuts, and then she goes nuts, and then I go more berserk. And then, I get hurt, and I got to the point where she'll bite me on the arm, not like hard, but I'm like, well, fuck, I'll bite you back, and I'll like dig into her neck. She's like, she stops, gives us a side eye, like, I don't know what the fuck just happened, but I think we're done now. Thank you.
Okay, over the line.
Exactly. No, we were sitting on that's a dog story real quick. It was just cracked me up. So we were sitting on the front porch, watering the lawn, with this big window right behind us, and the curtains are closed. And I see the curtains moving, and I turn, and you just see the dog's head side profile. She's looking straight ahead, and her head slowly, nose first, comes from the curtain, and she just gives a side eye look at me. So it's just like that big part of the white of her eyes, and then just slowly goes back behind the curtain. I about fell out of my chair laughing. It was like she didn't turn to look. It was just like, "Are you out there?" Yep. All right. Bye.
Well, it's almost like she's preparing an ambush for you when you walk in. Like,
clever girl.
Like, he can't see me, can he? Like if I do the profile, he doesn't know I'm here.
It was
doesn't recognize me from this angle.
Well, what kind of dragon would you be, buddy?
Right. I think. Oof. I'm gonna go Forgotten Realms.
Ooh, okay.
Because they have the coolest dragons, in my opinion. Right. We talked about this a little bit a second ago, right? Being able to turn into a human. A lot of those dragons can. Yeah. Especially the elder ones. They've learned magic. They can, polymorph. So I would probably be. Ooh. I think like being able to breathe fire, awesome.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, we didn't even talk about that. Yeah.
But the look of a black dragon.
Oh, yeah.
With the horns that kind of come forward and just that kind of ominous, I think that's what I'd go for. Because, me, I love villains. Villains are my...
Oh, absolutely, man.
They're my piece of pie, so I think I'd have
really big dragon penis.
Well, if I were a black dragon.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what they say.
That's what they say.
Once you go black dragon, you never go back?
Because you're dead.
Even in human form.
Great question, Maple. Appreciate that. Anyway, we should probably get into the actual fucking show. We're 30 minutes in.
Guess.
Yeah, it sounds like us, all right.
I don't think anybody came into the show expecting anything different.
No.
And if you did, you're in the wrong place.
Well, let's switch some things around because I want to make sure that the majority of the show is your topic, right? And then if there's time, we can jump into something else after that. But so, as people are aware, past listeners, Russell is a massive Dark Souls fan. And Sekiro, all those style of games was From Software, right?
Yeah. From Soft, yeah.
From Soft, yeah. From Soft to Hard, Dragons. Anyway, back with it. So while we weren't recording, Elden Ring came out.
Yep.
And that was a massive game. Obviously, everyone's well aware. It's won a ton of awards. Did it win Game of the Year? I think so, right?
I think
feel
Elden
like
Ring
it did.
won Game of the Year.
I think it did.
Should
Gorgeous game, blew up by storm. Even just a few months ago, before the spoiler, what we're talking about, the new DLC came out, a ton of people recently jumped back into it, and it blew up again right before the DLC came out. But Russell, of course, massive fan, played through, and he wants to discuss the DLC for Elden Ring.
I also, real quick, before we move too far afield,
yeah, man,
and get into this because it's going to be a thing. Quick update on my book. I finished chapter 2, right?
Oh, hell yes.
Chapter 3. Elmer still hasn't read it.
I have opened it.
That's all I can ask. I got to give you a hard time about it.
Listen,
I hope I don't hurt your feelings.
No, you'll never hurt my feelings. But no, I always have these moments where I'm like, yeah, oh my God, he sent me that book. I'm going to be such a good friend, and I'm going to write a bunch of notes, and I'm going to get with them before the next podcast. And then before I know it's time to record the next podcast, I'm like, fuck, I didn't do any of that.
That's okay, because typically what I do, and here's kind of the process that I usually work on, and this is what works for me, right? Writing a whole book, it's kind of daunting. The idea of sitting down and writing 75,000 words, because that's my goal, 75,000 words, right? And so I think we talked about this a little bit last time, is it's like, I found what works really well for me is, one, I can't skip around. A lot of people can skip around and be like, okay, I'm going to write an outline of the book. I'm going to fill out this because it's interesting to me. Then I'm going to fill out this. I can't. That's not the way I work. I like outlines. I like following it, but I have to go sequentially, right? Chapter 1, Chapter 2, Chapter 3, right? I kind of understand what's going on, so I can tie in some things. But so what I've done is I break it up by chapters. And so typically the way that I found that works best for me. Well, right. But what I mean is the way that works best for me is I'll write the chapter. I'll send it out to my beta readers.
Yeah.
Then what I'll do is I'll work on the next chapter and finish that off before then I go back and look at notes and go, okay, here's what I need to change. Here's what makes sense. Here's what doesn't make sense. No. Well, what I mean is that way it gives people plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
To go through and get the reads in, because I realize I'm busy too. I get it. I hardly have time to even write it. So I get that people aren't going to be able to get to it. So I appreciate you being willing to read it. I know I give you a hard time.
Buddy, this is my solemn vow right now. I am going to be all alone next week. Okay? So in between work and incredible porn sessions, I promise you, by next podcast, I will have read what you sent me, and I will tell you what I think.
Okay. Now here's the question, though. I mean, why does it have to be in between the porn sessions? How do you know it's not porn?
Well, that's a good question. I think the reason because of that is I want to watch some porn, and if I read it and discover it is porn, I don't have to watch more after it. So it could, instead of being in between, it might just take over full time.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Like Quagmire going to check his mail, and I'm like, just checking out the Russell's book,
Yeah.
Does that work?
Giggity.
Yeah.
It does. I'm giving you a hard time. You take your time. I'm teasing you.
Is it pornographic?
It's not.
Oh.
I mean, I guess depending on your perspective, could be. I mean, there is a tentacle monster in the second chapter, so I don't know.
I'll have some notes.
Depends on what does it for you.
Well, anything you do does it for me.
Except
for that one picture. I got to say this. I was going through pictures and stuff with the kids, right? And there's that picture of you on the the light rail. We were going to Elitch's for my birthday a couple years ago when you came out for that.
Yeah.
And you had the really weird shorts on and your big tennis shoes on and you're drawing and it wasn't a good picture. I just want to say that. So that's the one time you haven't aroused me.
I really take bad pictures. Like, I really take
That's not true, though.
Awful pictures. I am always in like a hunched golem position.
That's if you're in your natural habitat, that's true. But like we went through all the photos from Nick's wedding and you looked amazing in every photo.
I mean, I was stressed up. I had, you like slapping a bow on a turd. Like, sure, it'll look a little bit better, but it doesn't smell any better.
Yeah, but it was a polished turd, dude.
Have you seen the Mythbusters episode where they polish a turd?
No, I have not.
Yeah, that's a thing that they do. On
Of course it is.
Because you can actually, like, there's a thing where they take mud and then they, like, compress it. And over time, they compress it, polish it, compress it, polish it, compress it, polish it. And so Jamie and Adam did that with different variations of turds. Compressed it, polished it, compressed it, polished it. To where it made like a marble stone. Incredible. That's so fantastic. You can, indeed, polish a turd.
I'm well aware, buddy. I've been your friend for a long time. Anyway, let's jump into Elden Ring.
Elden Ring. Yeah.
We are so mad tonight.
Woof. But hopefully it's at least entertaining, for the 3 people
it's
that watch.
For us, so who gives a shit about everyone else?
So Elden Ring. So base game, great, long, in-depth, right? You can really make it as long as you want it to be. Right? Yeah. But it also has this rich lore to it, right? Of these events that have happened in this long ago age, right? And now here you are, and one of the things that's really great about FromSoft games is this kind of idea in a lot of them, where you're like one of the few people left alive. I'm not going to say the only. Dark Souls, yes. Elden Ring, you're one of a few people left alive in this world, like, and then everybody else is against you. Sekiro, you're like one man against the world. So, like, they always kind of have this thread of loneliness through them.
Yeah.
Right?
Which you really connect with.
I do. I mean, I am one man against a world of ineptitude.
Just a team of lone wolves. Lone wolfing it together.
And so the idea is you are a tarnished. You have returned to the lands between. You have received the grace. What that is, we don't really know. Does it come from America? Does it come from something else? It resurrects you from the dead, right? You are resurrected among the series of other heroes. Sir Gideon Offner, the all-knowing, the Dung Eater, which is an actual person, believe it or not.
It sounded like you said the Dong Eater, and that was a much different hero.
The Dung.
Oh, okay, got it. Not much better. Not much better.
No, I think I'd rather eat dongs than dung.
Yeah, I agree.
And so you are now this tarnished, journeying forth to reunite the Elden Ring and become the Elden Lord. Along the way, you find out, maybe you don't want to be the Elden Lord. There are other paths that you can take, but in the end, you are overcoming all obstacles to take your place at the top of the heap, right? In either service to a god, or just destroying everything and raising it all to the ground and seeing what comes after, right? That's an option. And the DLC continues that thing, right? But now, whereas before you're kind of following, your end goal is to get to the Elden Tree, to get to Queen Marika to either reforge the Elden Ring or to destroy it or whatever. Right?
Cast into the fire. I do have a question actually along those lines.
Yes.
So I'd started Elden Ring. I didn't beat it. Does Elden Ring itself end in a way that sets up the DLC, or is it a pretty solid ending of its own? And if you happen to go through the DLC, that's additional, or Does that make
Sure.
sense? Is it obvious
Yeah.
that the story ends where you have to be going into the DLC next, or is there a decent
Well, the
ending?
DLC isn't like a sequel,
Okay.
right? The idea of this is taking place after. It can, right? But it's meant to be in congruence and go alongside.
Okay.
So really what the DLC does is it explores a piece of lore
In
that
addition
we
to.
had gotten hints of
Okay.
and pieces of. And now it's like, okay, here is that story. And it fleshes out what we knew of Queen Marika, where she came from, how she became a god, and kind of goes along those lines. And this kind of leads into one of the things that I wanted to talk about, which is a personal theory that I have not heard elsewhere, that I think is rather cool. I don't know. We'll see if any other Elden Ring nerds out there actually listen to the show. And
They're out there. I actually know this for a fact.
So the premise of the first game is Queen Marika, right? She is a god. At some point, there was the breaking of the Elden Ring, right? Which is this symbol of power. It holds power, right? Her children then each got a piece of this Elden Ring, of this item, right? Because there's some physical nature to it. There's also some spiritual, because as you kill these demigods and you get these runes, these great runes that are part of the Elden Ring, you can then use them to empower yourself.
So is every boss one of the people that got one of these pieces, or is it just a specific few?
A specific few. It's not every boss.
Got you.
They are children of Marika who have ended up with this, or of the lineage of Marika. In the instance of Godfrey, who is not Godfrey, Godwin, who is he is a descendant of Queen Marika in some sort. It very specifically says that he's not a child of Queen Marika. He's kind of an offshoot, but he still carries the golden lineage within himself, which is this offspring of Queen Marika.
Okay.
But we knew of the three eldest children, right? Which was Moog, Morgott, and what's his name? Godwin. No, Godwin's the other one. Hold on,
Garwin?
No.
Gerber? Genevieve? Guinevere?
Yeah. Oh, you're very close.
Jesus Christ.
Godwin.
Godwin.
So who is?
Yeah, there definitely are a few names that are close together.
Yeah.
So something while you're looking it up, though, something I really like with Elden Ring is it's so obviously up your alley. Like I remember the first time watching a trailer, because if anyone doesn't know, and this is, I'm excited to read your book for this reason. Like Russell is like dark fantasy to a T. Playing in his D&D campaign was such like a what the fuck is going on in the best way, you know? So yeah,
I had you attacked by an Oni.
That went a little far
and held.
Yeah, I think my guy was like tortured, killed, and resurrected every day for like 3 months or something like that. Skinned alive every possible way you can think of.
Yeah, I think you were out for a couple of sessions. Oh, no. Well, first, you were... I forget why I did this, but you were replaced with a doppelganger.
Which was the most fun I've ever had role-playing.
And I had you play as the doppelganger. You were aware of this, and I told you,
yes,
you are a doppelganger. But you are acting as if you are...
the real version.
Beheshtur.
Good memory.
And then you had to, at some point, I was going to tell you that you needed to turn on your friends.
Yep, and that happened.
Yeah,
and I think it turned out beautifully. And I had half the group believing me and half the group not, like evenly, and it was beautiful. But the main point is, dark fantasy is where Russell lives, and Elden Ring, all the From Software games, but like Elden Ring just hits it at such a beautiful beautiful spot. The artwork, the vibe, the music, the difficulty, the armor, weapon design, everything is just like, holy shit, this is dark and beautiful at the same time.
So going back to your idea of dying all the time, right? Brandon Sanderson said something about this because apparently he's a big FromSoft fan too. And he was like, the goal of this game is to die.
Yeah.
Like that is because then you learn and you're coming back and you're okay, now I figured this out, right? And they do that, right? Where they're like, that's the FromSoft thing. You'll go around a corner and you will be immediately attacked. Like to the point to where when I play it, I'm like peeking around corners. It's just something I'm used to doing. Before I open a chest, I hit it. Even though there's never been a mimic in Elden Ring, I still hit the chest because there is going to be that one time where they add that flippin' mimic into the chest and it kills you immediately and you're 20 minutes from the last bonfire, site of grace, whatever.
And you'll be the only player in the world that doesn't get tricked by it.
Yeah. And it's so funny because you can tell, like, when you play, one of the things of FromSoft is like they have like ghosts, right, that are running around the game with you, and you can tell because you'll come up to a corner and there'll just be all these blood spots, and you're like, there is something bad here. Like, so you're like peeping around the corner, and then you walk through, and immediately that's when the thing drops from the ceiling and kills you, right? Or rushes. Or it's like in Dark Souls 3, there was like you would come. I remember this specifically because I died so many times. There was this long ladder that you slide all the way down to. You come into like this cistern, right? That's got like ankle deep water, and you see a monster over on the side, which is like this furry crocodile that also has lightning attacks. And you're like, okay, I'm gonna creep up behind this thing and get a few good whacks in before it turns on me. And then they have one appear behind you out of mist that then comes and attacks you. Like, that's what FromSoft does.
Yep. The old bait and switch.
And they are like, it's one of those things, like, whenever I see, like, as sad as it is, like, a lot of the times I don't even see the skybox or the beautiful surroundings anymore, because as soon as I see one, I'm like, what the hell is about to hit me from behind?
Yeah.
Because they do that too. Again, I remember a specific moment from Dark Souls 3. You're walking across this bridge, and you pierce through this shield, and all of a sudden you see this beautiful city with this, and I mean, everything's in shades of blue, and you see this skybox and this beautiful moon and this castle just reaching up into the sky, and from behind you get hit with one of those lightning wolf thing crocodiles, and it's like, screw you.
Yeah, I watched this playthrough series on YouTube, and this guy at the very end of it, he's like, I gotta be honest, folks. He's like, I played through the whole thing and I was so focused on what the fuck was going on at all times. Going back to edit these, I was like, wow, this is a very pretty game. Like,
right.
Just, once you're editing it, you're able to look at all the surroundings of what you're diving and rolling around, But he's like, when you're in it, you're just so hyper focused on what's happening.
And it is very much that way, because like, and it's one of those things that once you get used to it, you notice it a little bit more, and you're like, oh wow, this is a really pretty game. But like, when you're in it, you're like, well, I don't know what the hell is happening, because you're constantly like, it's not one. This is a game that I don't play around my family.
Yeah.
I wait until they're asleep or gone or whatever it takes, because one, I get really irritated, and two, I'm hyper focused. So if they're trying to talk to me, I'm like, shut up, leave me alone a second. Like, I gotta focus. I gotta be here, because if I don't, if there's one little slip, like Gideon will come up and touch me on the leg, and I'm like, I'm dead.
It's all over. Yeah. You're dead. Ah.
A little bit. Right?
So what's this side story that's branching out?
Yeah. So you have the children of Queen Marika. Godric was who I was trying to think of.
Okay,
Godric, right? So you have Queen Marika. Her at the time, her consort is Godfrey. And we know of her three eldest children, Moog, Morgott, and then you have Godwyn. Okay. Godwyn the Golden, right? And those are the three eldest children that we know of. Then she splits from Godfrey. He is banished from the lands between. And what happens is then she also goes to war with the Carrion royalty. Carrion royalty are the wizards, right?
Okay.
So she goes to war. The war is led from her plateau, where the city is, and it's this war that neither side is winning. Right? It's kind of the stalemate. What then happens is Radagon comes and he's leading the war, and finally he puts his weapons aside and he marries Renala. Renala, who is the Carrion Queen, who is the head of the Royal Society of Wizards, kind of thing. They get married. They have children. They have
Oh,
Radon.
good for them.
They have Ronnie.
Radon.
I think it's just the two. I think it's just Radon and Ronnie.
Is Ronnie a boss? I know Radon.
Radon is, so is Ronnie is never a boss.
Okay. I was going to say, I've heard of Radon before.
When you fight Renala during her second phase, it's actually an illusion that Ronnie has created to protect her mother.
Oh, okay.
So kind of, but not really. And you only know that if you've talked to Ronnie and picked up on her questline, because all you hear is the voice. Right? Here now, face my mother at her power. Right? And so then you have Radon and you have Ronnie. And then what it turns out is Radagon then leaves Renala. Leaves her in like a comatose state because she was so in love with Radagon. He gives her this egg that's like a rune from the Elden Ring, that's like the symbol of rebirth. And she just shuts herself away. The wizards revolt. They kind of lock her away in this room, and that's how Karya then falls. Right.
Okay.
Radagon leaves Renala to be with Marika. They then have children.
Aw.
Mikola and Melania. Okay.
Okay, Melania I know of.
Twins. Melania is the boss that everybody talks about in Elden Ring. That is
Yep.
just
Let me solo her.
stupid hard.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Yeah. Let me solo her. Yes, exactly. And then Mikola is kind of this mysterious figure, because when we find Melania, she is in Mikola's Hallig tree.
Oh, interesting.
Which is also, it's like a mimic of the Elden tree, right?
Okay.
Which is the symbol of the Golden Order. And what had happened is Mikola was an eternal child. Melania had been infested with rot. So that's why she has these prosthetics, because she's lost these limbs and things like that. Because her skin, it's like a flesh-eating disease. It like eats away her flesh. Mikola and Melania, very close to Godwin. Like during the history of this thing, there's some evidence that they had a very close relationship as children of America, even though they didn't came from the same father. Mikola trying to fix his sister, to cure his sister, or at least that's one of the things that we get from the main game, right? He entered this womb of the Hallig tree. Moog then came along, elder half-brother, and took him from the Hallig tree.
Okay.
And was holding him, Moog the Lord of Blood was holding him in like this it's basically a placenta in his palace.
So is that like the end guy for the DLC or?
No.
Okay.
This is all base main game.
Oh, okay.
And so Moog has taken Mikola and left it in his cathedral, with the idea that they were going to start a dynasty together of new gods, basically, right? Like Marika had her children.
Yeah.
Moog and Mikola would then have their children, and so on and so forth. In the backstory, you find that Mikola has this ability that charms people. And so the supposition before the DLC came out was that Moog had actually been enraptured, enchanted by Mikola, specifically for this purpose. Because what happens is the DLC, so you have to defeat Moog and you have to defeat Radon. You can then go, because in the arena where you fight Moog, there's like this, like a placenta, but it kind of looks like it's made of cobwebs.
Okay.
And it's sitting on like hip bones. And it's
Yummy.
got like this, it's kind of like almost broken open, and there's a hand hanging out of it. And when you go and kiss the hand, you enter into the Veiled Lands,
which is the DLC area.
Which is the DLC area.
Okay, so you have to. There's 2 bosses you have to kill to even be able to start that DLC.
Right.
That's badass. I dig that a lot.
Yeah. Well, and the idea is because it's so involved in the lore. Like, we've reached a point to where I don't feel bad about talking about spoilers. I haven't finished completely the DLC yet. I do know some of what happens at the end. I may be 70% of the way. Maybe.
Okay, cool. So we can get some updates as we go. It'll be the Sekiro updates all over again.
Yeah.
If people love those.
But the DLC all has to do with Mikola.
Yeah.
And his it kind of goes back and forth, journey to godhood. Because it turns out Radigan and Marika, same person.
Oh, okay.
It was a branch of themselves, like a duality, right? They're both male and female. This is the part where you can definitely tell is written by George R.R. Martin, right?
Oh, I forgot. Yeah, he was part of this. Yeah.
Follows very much along the lines of like, yeah, I could see something like this happening in Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Hey,
I'm glad he finished that book series.
So you're journeying through the Shadowed Lands, the Veiled Lands. You're acquiring more lore, but it's all in pursuit of Mikola, following in their footsteps as they have tried to ascend to godhood.
So how many like main bosses are there in the DLC?
Oh, 20?
Wow. That many got added in for this. And then you have all the like mini whatever the world bosses that can just exist.
So, I mean, depending, right? You could probably boss rush your way through it, get it done in 20 to 30 hours.
That's a solid DLC, though.
But in actuality, exploring everything, finding all the little dungeons, exploring the entire map. I mean, I've probably put in a good 40 already.
Yeah, so it's like another game. For how much was the DLC?
$50?
Okay, yeah, no, that checks out. Yeah. If it's like almost a second game within the first game.
Yeah, it's almost another verticality. A lot of people are like, it's crazy difficult.
Yeah.
And it is. So one of the like base mechanics, one of the things that I really like that they introduced are what's called these Shadu tree fragments. It's spelled Scadu, but in Old English it's actually pronounced Shadu because it's a shadow of the Erd tree. Erd tree, not Elden tree, but I've been calling it the Elden tree.
I believed you the whole time because it made sense.
Yeah. Erd tree. It's a shadow of the Erd tree. And so what you can do is along the way you pick up these Shadu fragments. And what they do is they increase your abilities in the Shadowlands just in the DLC.
Oh, so you want to be running around exploring and gathering as many of those as you can quickly.
Right. Well, and here's the thing, and here's what I like about it, and here's why I think they introduced it, right? You have a lot of people who are coming into this DLC expecting it to be like Elden Ring, but it's much more like Dark Souls. And Dark Souls base game, hard, but then you get the DLC and they're like, no, you guys have been playing this for a while. We're going to ratchet it up by 10.
Yeah.
And Shadow of the Erd Tree follows that same basic principle. It is balls hard. And so what they do is you can still level, but they also introduce these Shadow fragments, which as you accumulate them, you can grow. So you don't have something that's completely based on runes or leveling. So you can so if you die a lot, you can still acquire these Shadow fragments and still increase your damage and your
I like that
survivability.
That was my biggest issue I had with base Elden Ring. One, I'm really bad at it, but
Right.
I just felt like I was never progressing. And so yeah,
Right.
having another way to progress on top of what's already there, that sounds awesome.
Right. And I think that's why they did it, right? Because it's like, okay, this is a way that you can still progress that, because for those of you who don't know, the main mechanic of these games is when you die, you drop all of your progression, your XP, so to speak. You then have to get back to it and reclaim it. But if you die on your way back, you lose all of that progress. And as you get higher and higher levels, it takes more and more runes, that's what they're called, to be able to level up. So, like Elmer was saying, you can feel if until you get good, which is not just a get good scrub. It's more
But
of a
it
like,
is.
no.
Yeah.
This is how you play the game. You have to die and learn and get better. Until you can do that, you will feel like you are not progressing at all.
Very much so.
Yeah. So this gives a way where you can still progress and you can still grow stronger, even though you may be losing your runes.
I dig that. This will be fun. What is so far the bosses you've done? What is the most artistically your favorite, and then what is your favorite mechanically? Because I've definitely had some insane boss fights in the past that pissed me off, and then once you figure it out and finish it, you're like, "Fuck, that was so much fun," you know. And others, you're like, "I can't. Fuck that boss. I hope it dies in a pit of gravy. Fuck it so much. I never want to see it again." Puh.
Mechanically, I think it's both as the same because he's just my favorite boss in the DLC, hands down so far.
Okay.
Which is apropos, considering we were talking about dragons earlier.
Ooh, a dragon boss.
His name is Bale.
Holy shit.
The Dragon Lord. So it is one of like, and his lore is good. Like just that whole So one of the areas of the game, Dragon Peak, right? As you're peering over a cliff, you can see these desiccated bodies of these huge dragons.
Holy fuck.
Are you looking at
I just Googled
Bale right now?
Holy fuck.
Firstly, his character design is beautiful.
Yes.
Like, you look at him and he's terrifying.
And he blends in so well with the environment around him.
Yes. So you're climbing this mountain. This is how you get to the boss fight. You are climbing this massive mountain. And there's lightning striking everywhere, this red lightning. If you've ever read Brandon Sanderson, it kind of reminds me of his description of like the Everstorm, right? With this red lightning striking down and this kind of wind-blown dust environment. And as you're climbing, you're fighting dragon after dragon after dragon after dragon. Because in the base game, one of the things that you could do is as you kill dragons, you could take their hearts, you could go and sacrifice them, and you could grow in power. And as you climb this mountain, you find the lore reasons as to why this has happened. Dragon Lord Placidusax, trapped outside of time in Pharaoh Missoula in a continual storm. He's one of the dragons that you fight. He's one of the bosses that you fight in the base game. He's a side boss. You don't need to fight him to finish the game. He's got 5 heads. He's massive, and he's a fun boss fight, right? Hard boss fight, but fun, right? Depending on your build. He's missing heads. He's got all this damage done to him. And you're like, okay. You find out as you progress through the DLC and you encounter different characters that Bale and he fought. And they both limped away from that fight.
That's so badass.
So as you can see the pictures, like he's missing, like he's just got a bone where one of his arms used to be that he uses to stab you with. He's missing legs. His wings have been ripped off of his body.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing this now that you're. I'm watching a no damage run of it.
Okay.
And just watching as you're describing that, I'm noticing. Yeah, these wings are like barely working. They're shredded to pieces. He looks already bloodied and messed up. Damn, that is cool design.
So, and one of the things that you don't really see when you're fighting him, but if you look at like the character design of him, one of the a couple of the heads of Placidusax that have been torn off are still attached to his body from where he flew away as they were wrapped around his body
Oh, I'm
and were
looking for that
ripped
now.
from Placidusax.
Holy shit! Phase 2 just started. Fuck! Holy shit!
Yeah. So phase 2 of the fight. So first of all, you start out the fight. You know, he's ground based.
Yeah.
Right. He's leaping about. He's kind of like a chicken
Yeah,
in that
yeah,
way,
kind
where
of like
he
a
can jump
very
really high,
threatening
but he
chicken.
can't fly. Second phase, lightning wings shoot out of his body, and he flies up into the air and starts shooting you. But one of the best parts. So that's not even the best part because you probably can't hear it.
Yeah.
One of the best parts is you run into this guy along the way, and he's burned, he's broken. And all he wants, he says, my spirit is still left on that mountain. Summon me to fight Baal alongside you. I can't remember his name. Archon, something like that. You'll probably find it before I do. So when you start the fight and you summon him, he gets these lines of dialogue that are just intense. Like he's like, curse you, Baal. Curse your rotten hide. See, a true Drake knight has come to slay you. And it's like so intense. And it just,
because you have to do the fight over and over so many times, you memorize all these
I've
lines.
memorized the lines.
Everything. Yeah, absolutely.
But it is so intense.
Dude, the fucking fire is insane.
It's aesthetically pleasing. Baal is just awesome looking. Just
holy shit.
Intense. He's terrifying.
I should have known your choice would have been a dragon. Like, I've seen some gorgeous looking fights, but of course it's a fucking demon death dragon. Of course it is.
You know, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like he is awesome, and the lore behind him is really cool because there's this like ancient history of like Drake Knights coming to try to kill him, and he's killed them by the scores. He's this ancient being that now you are fighting because he's a side boss. He's not. You don't have to defeat him to beat the DLC.
Yeah,
but it's just so cool. So cool.
Oh my god! Fuck, that was so. This dude did it in 3 minutes flat. But that was fucking awesome.
And I think the other one that I really like, and it's mostly because of the music theme that goes along with him, is I'm making sure. Yeah, Midra, Lord of the Frenzied Flame.
There. Oh, that was in the recommended videos. Perfect. I think I might have seen this one before.
Midra is, and he plays into the part of the reason I'm bringing him up is because my own pet theory that I have that I haven't heard anywhere else concerns Midra.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay. Well, first of all, so the reason I like Midra is I don't know if you ever got to this part. Probably not, because I know you kind of stopped playing pretty early on. When you're in Langdale, you can descend into the sewers.
Okay.
If you descend further, you come across this. Basically, it's a grave and it's a pit. And as you're kind of having to platform down, it's the caravan guards, right? You ran into one of these at the very beginning, right? He's a traveling merchant, right? They have this theme that goes with them. Beautiful, kind of chill. I can't tell if it's viola or a violin. I think it's a violin, but it's just this kind of haunting theme. And Midra, when you're fighting him, has a variation of that same theme playing. And it's one of those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Just because the music for his fight is so good. He really pissed me off, though.
I'm watching this. Yeah, the cutscene of him ripping that whatever the fuck is sticking through his head just happened.
Yeah. No, and this is the actual fight. And there are room clearing, damaging spells that you cannot escape the damage of. And it is frustrating, to say the least.
Well, let's see. This guy says no damage boss fight, so
I don't know how, because there are certain attacks that he does where if he's honed in on you, you cannot get far enough away from him to not get hit.
It's got. I'm gonna watch. Yeah, it's gonna be some weird thing where it's like, yeah, if you frolic behind this pebble, it bounces off.
Does he have spirit summons?
No. And he's naked. And he's wearing a bear hat.
It's impressive.
And he's
impressive.
It looks like he's all punches and kicks.
Oh yeah, so that's one of the things that they introduced in the DLC were these new weapon varieties. So one of the ones that I really like is a great sword, but it's like a thin great sword.
Oh yeah.
So it's super long, but you're doing these looping attacks. Beautiful,
kind of Monster Hunter-esque.
Yeah, and it's very very quick. And I use a Spirit Ash with it that like you enter this stance where you're like walking forward, but you flick the sword out like this. So you're like walking towards people, kind of intimidating them, and then you can like jump in the air and stab them, or you can do these big looping attacks. And anyway, really cool. They also introduced martial arts. So basically, it's a weapon that is your martial arts, and you can flow through the attacks.
Yeah,
and
the
you
animations
can almost,
are really well done for it.
There's like this theme of kung fu in the Shadowlands. That's kind of there. It's really cool. But
so where does this kung fu thing come from?
It's just so it's a weapon that you can pick up. But what it is it's like a hand, and it's a martial art. Okay. So they have one that does like as you hit people, it does poison attacks. I don't know which one he's using. He may have the beast claws, which are like these claws that you put on your hand, but then they lead into these kind of like kung fu attacks.
So like lore-wise, where does kung fu come from? Because everything's so like sword and board and magic.
Sure. It's just like any other weapon, right? Okay. Yeah. Like you learn it from certain people. Like one of the ones this person developed this martial art. Like one of them's gloves that you pick up. The other one, you actually have to defeat this guy, something Leaf. And once you do, you get his martial art basically. But it's a weapon. Like you equip it in one of your hands, and then you can upgrade it along those lines, and you can become a martial artist.
Huh.
Yeah. It's one of the cooler ones.
This is really cool.
Yeah. It is. It is. They did a freaking fantastic job.
They do a fantastic job at everything. I'm just like you were talking about the music. I mean, there's a reason it wins. It won Game of the Year. Like the art style alone is fucking legendary. The music itself is. I quit the game and I still listen to the soundtrack, and I still watch. I still watch people stream it. I still watch when it pops up in YouTube video recommendeds. I'm like, yeah, I'll fucking watch this. Like I adore what they did with it. I'm just not a talented guy to do that. It sucks, but
and I'm not that talented either. Like I love the game. I can get through it.
I are patient enough to do it. You know what I mean?
Oof, patience.
Okay, you are masochisty enough.
Yeah, that's
to do it. Accurate. Yeah.
I can take the abuse just long enough to get past the thing.
Yeah, you're just in there playing Elden Ring, whipping yourself in the back as you go. Yeah. Blood for the blood gods.
So, for instance, Skulls for the Skull Throne. For instance, one of the Mesmer. I had a really hard time with Mesmer. I had to change my build. I went back, respect, so that I could beat him. Because the big thing was Mesmer, right? So, we're introduced to a new child of America, right? Mesmer. We also find out that Melina is more than likely, a child of America as well. So, kind of two new kids. Melina we met in the base game, but we kind of get more affirmation that she was indeed a child of America. Mesmer, for whatever reason, has been sent into the Shadowlands to lead a crusade against the people that inhabited it. And he has laid waste and destroyed everything that was there before. Because we find out that Queen Marika had actually come from the Shadowlands.
Oh,
She was a shaman.
Okay.
And what happened was is you had these people called the Hornsent, and what they did was they would take the shamans and they would imprison them in the great jars, causing them to become these amalgamated pustules of flesh, hoping that they would achieve sainthood. But they tortured them to do this. Marika then rose up. She made a deal with the Mother of the Fingers, which is this first child of the Greater Will, which is kind of like these gods from outside the stars, right? You find out that there are these things that exist outside the stars. And she made a deal with the Fingers, and they helped her then become a goddess. And then she sent Mesmer to the Shadowlands to destroy it, lead a crusade against its people.
Have you gotten to Mesmer yet?
There. Yeah, I beat Mesmer. He's kind of the main face of the game, but he's only a midway boss.
Oh, interesting. So what is the last boss, or do you know yet?
Radon.
Was it
consort of Mikola?
Got it. Promise consort Radon. Got it.
And Mikola.
So
you find out that's the reason you have to beat Radon in the main game, is because Mikola had chosen Radon as their consort. Because each god has to have a consort, apparently.
Well, yeah.
It's just one of the
gods
rules.
Get horny.
Well, I think it's more along the lines of they're meant to be the god, and then they're supposed to be their avatar. Their consort is kind of supposed to be their avatar.
Oh, I got you.
Marika kind of walked that back and made her own self her avatar, because it seems like she didn't abandon all of herself like Mikola did. Because you actually find out that Mikola, there's also this character called Saint Trina, and Saint Trina is kind of like Saint Trina is what Radagon was to Marika. This aspect of themselves.
Sorry, I just found this Mother of Fingers.
Oh, yeah.
Holy fuck. No, thank you.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
Okay, sorry, keep going. I'm just clicking through videos at this point.
So all the bosses are really, really good. Bale is my favorite. I really, really loved Bale. I haven't... Midra, I really loved the sound of his score that went with him. And Mesmer, I've really loved all the bosses. Like, there's not been one that I've been like, this is a terrible boss.
Yeah.
They've all been good to varying degrees. Probably the one that I had the hardest time with was a mini boss that's like right in the beginning of the game. And I died to him so many times because what he does is he's a spirit. He has this crossbow, and it'll go pa pa.
Oh,
and shoot crossbows at you like in a fully automatic SMG kind of way. And so you're like,
yes. Oh,
you're
fuck.
like, yeah. And his he just had some sweeping attacks that's like, because he had kind of like this half step in a lot of his attacks where it's like, okay, I know this combo, but then he would like put a half step in between this and the next one, so you'd go to like dodge out of the way, but then it was timed just right to where when you dodged and came out of the iframes, you would then get hit by him. It was pretty miserable.
Jesus.
But
you did it.
I did. So here is my theory.
All right, let's hear this. I have
not heard anywhere else, because I had to kind of give the background of the DLCs and the base game to kind of understand it. So, Children of America. It has become community canon that Moog and Morgott were Godfrey's children through America. Or that they are America's children through Godfrey. However, that doesn't track with me because, firstly, let's go through this. So, whenever Marika has a child with one of her consorts, they then have the first letter of that consort's name.
Oh, okay.
So, Marika and Godfrey had Godwin, who was then killed in the Night of the Black Knives, which was a conspiracy started by Ronnie, because he had the one of the things is anyway.
No,
It's
no,
another
go,
lore
go, go,
thing
go.
that's really cool. Okay.
Do it, do
So
it, do it, do it.
Marika apparently removed the death rune from the Elden Ring. So she removed death from the world. Okay.
Okay.
That was the first fracturing of the Elden Ring. So, and she put it inside of her like wolf companion. Is basically what happens. He then is a boss that you fight, and you get that death rune back. But so Ronnie, she was an Empyrean, which means that she could ascend to godhood. But she did not want to follow the fingers. Matter, the mother of the fingers, they all lead towards greater will. She did not feel like the greater will was worth worshiping. So she breaks off. She conspires this plan. She trains the Black Knives, gives them a piece of the rune of death, splits it in half, so that they go and kill Godwin, but at the same time, she is killed. But what happens is her body is killed, so that her spirit can live on, and she can put it in another vessel.
Jesus.
Godwin, his spirit is killed, but his body lives on. You can actually find the body of Godwin underneath and adjacent and in the roots of the Erd Tree, and he's turned into like a fish dragon thing, which is crazy. So anyway, but Marika and Godfrey had Godwin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then Marika leaves. Godfrey is banished. She leaves him. She then, through Radagon, marries Renala and has Ronnie and Radon, both who
Sensing
have
that theme?
the R,
The R, yes.
right? Then she has children with herself, and you have Melania and Mikola. Okay.
M's. Okay.
Moog. So the eldest children that we knew of before Mesmer and before we knew how old Melina was Moog and Morgoth, who do not share that same pattern. However, and the trailer for the Erd Tree is setting it up to where Marika had an affair and there was a betrayal that then she used to ascend to godhood.
Oh, shit. I'm going through it all in my head right now.
My supposition is when we're in Midra's Manse, where we fight Midra, as you're exploring, before you go into his boss room, you come across this portrait. There is an old man that's dressed in the same robes that Midra wears, with what appears to be a feminine figure standing behind him, hooded. You can't see her face, but you do see two long golden braids. Mikola has golden hair, but only has the one braid. Marika is the only person that I'm aware of that has ever been shown with two braids.
Interesting.
And Midra lived in a manse, and he is guarded by other horn-sent clerical figures. Or guarded, or on the way there, you're coming across more horn-sent.
So do you think you'll find out if you're right as you get through this DLC, or is that a future one?
No. There are no other DLCs coming for Elden Ring.
Oh, really? Interesting. So you'll just never know, or what?
I mean, it's the way Elden Ring is, right? You never know anything for sure.
Oh, okay.
But
damn,
my
that's
supposition,
even, on top of all the fighting, that's even more frustrating.
my supposition is that that Midra was a leader of the Hornsent, which is why he's in a manse, right?
Yeah.
Why would you put somebody who was not a pivotal figure in a manse? Like, why would they be in a manse? Right? A mansion, right?
Yeah.
And it says that he had attempted to become the first Elden Lord, but didn't. I think that he was a leader of the Hornsents. I think that Marika seduced him, had children by him, and infected him with the frenzied flame.
Damn.
And that is why Mesmer and Melina both have ties to flame.
Damn, and I'm following this. This is insane.
She sent Mesmer away.
Yes.
Because one of the things is you have to then get to the fire top of the giant, or the mountaintop of the giants, whatever it's called.
Yeah.
And you have to use the fire giant's cauldron to burn the Earth Tree to finally get to Marika. So she sent Mesmer away because he had ties to flame, and so he could burn the Earth Tree.
The real tree, not the fake one.
Yeah, you burn it, and it goes to ash. In fact, Langdale, which you enter initially, you're walking through the streets and the alleyways. When you come back to it after you burn the Earth Tree, it is now filled with ash.
That's crazy. That's fucking cool.
So I think that Melina was killed, and I think Marika had her killed so that she could not burn the Earth Tree. I think Mesmer was sent away for this crusade because she needed him to be away and in the Shadowlands so that he could have nothing to do with the Earth Tree. Because she even puts a seal of grace. Like, he breaks it, and then he turns into a big snake and starts attacking you.
Jesus. There's a lot of big snakes.
And the reason that I think that Midra has a tie to the Horn Sense is because Moog and Morgott are omens. But omens were worshipped by the Horn Sense.
So if there's no future DLC, and we had like a Dark Souls 1, 2, and 3, is there going to be like an Elden Ring 2?
I'm sure there is.
Okay, so nothing that people are aware of yet, right?
Right.
So maybe you will know someday.
Maybe. But that's Dark Souls 1, Dark Souls 2, Dark Souls 3. You get lore through talking with people, and you get it through reading item descriptions.
Yeah.
But the thing is that they never come out and say, here is what this is.
Oh, okay. Which allows everyone to just have their own ideas and discussions and keep that flowing.
It's kind of the fun
of
Elden Ring, right? You can form your own theory. And this is my personal pet theory. That Moog and Morgott are not children of Godfrey. That they are instead children of Midra, who Marika seduced, had an affair with, and then betrayed.
Bitches be crazy,
ascend to godhood. She used him as a partner to then ascend to godhood, and then she betrayed him in the end. Because he is the Lord of the Frenzied Flame.
Yeah.
Which is where then Mesmer and Melina get their ties to flame. Moog and Morgott are omens, which would then tie with the Horn Scent.
Fuck. Ah, dude. That's so awesome. I love how your brain works.
Because his name is Midra, that then tracks with his children having M name.
The M name, yes.
Because it never explicitly states, because I looked this up, because I was like, it doesn't make sense that Moog and Morgott are children of Godfrey. It just doesn't. Not with the pattern that they've established. And it's one of those things that's become community canon, because I don't think there were any other answers. So everybody just assumes that Moog and Morgott are children of Godfrey because so many people have said it in a factual way.
Interesting. So we just need this podcast to go fucking viral.
Right.
So that can become the new way of thinking. And then they hire you to be a writer in all their future games.
Yeah, I'd be down for that.
I'd be so down for that. I would play through them if you were writing.
You haven't even read my book yet.
Well, it'd be easier if it was attached to a video game and someone else read it to me. You know what I mean?
Fair enough.
I'll tell you what. If you get a whole team, right, to animate your book, and then some A-list actor reads it to me at the same time, I'll gladly, take part of that.
If my book does get published, and
when it gets published,
when it goes to Audible, I have an idea of who I would like to read my book. Have you ever heard of Christopher Tester?
Of course.
Yeah.
That
is who I want to read my book.
Not Salma Hayek?
A close second.
Okay. Yeah.
Danny DeVito is a third.
It's just sad that Gilbert Gottfried's not alive anymore, because that'd be a great person to have read your book.
Yeah. I think so.
Yeah.
That's true. He was my number one pick, but he's dead.
That's true. Have you listened to him reading 50 Shades of Grey? It's incredible.
Oh my gosh, no.
It's legitly so.
I think I listened to a portion of it based on your suggestion. So maybe
Years
I
ago.
have.
Yeah.
I
I mean,
the
obviously I didn't
idea of
listen
it
to
is
the whole
funny enough
book,
where,
but
right.
it was really funny. I just, what a great guy. Well, was a great guy. And whatever, however you want to put that. But, dude, I'm so glad you're loving this deal. I mean, legitly, it's all I see everywhere. We had, there's this big streamer I never heard about. He just suddenly appeared on my feed, but he's been huge for years, is this guy Kai, right? And he's been doing these massive Elden Ring streams. And like, this dude makes fucking money. Like, he did a 24-hour stream with Kevin Hart in his basement, and like Nicki Minaj has been.
Yeah.
This guy, yeah. So
that's the guy I was thinking of. Okay.
Yeah. So he had like this armor made for him, like changed his whole room to look like, Elden Ring stuff. But I think it was during the DLC, he had one boss he had such a hard time with that for like 3 hours, he'd paid an actual therapist to come to his house, and she sat in a chair next to him while he talked out his feelings, working through this stuff. But it's like, because of that, so many other people like that you'd never think would play through it have been playing through Elden Ring, and it's had this massive research. I mean, it was huge when it launched. And the last couple months before the DLC launched, it had this huge resurgence. Then the DLC hit, and it's just been massive. You can't look anywhere without it. It's been fucking awesome, man.
Even Brandon Sanderson is streaming it.
Yeah, dude, absolutely.
I mean, he's pretty prolific on YouTube and stuff like that, but he's not a streamer.
He never streams. Yeah, very rarely.
But he streamed Elden Ring when it came out. I think. Well, at least I saw some reels that were. I think he just did it on Twitter. Like, here's the thing. But yeah, he's done a couple of shows where he streamed it because he's a huge FromSoft fan.
It's going to be a game that's held in high regard for fucking ever in the gaming industry, Dark Souls has always had its spot, but it was a very like niche audience that were Dark Souls people. And Elden Ring has, it's still, not a big percentage of people that are ever going to be able to beat Elden Ring, but it's definitely way more people playing From Software than ever before, which is awesome for their future.
Yeah. Elden Ring works because you're not as tied to, I have to beat this boss to progress.
Yes.
And there are lots of ways, especially in Elden Ring, where you can bypass certain bosses that you're having a hard time with.
And there's a lot more exploration in Elden Ring than I felt like, because I probably played 80% of Dark Souls 3, I think. I was forced to do that.
I think I think it was not quite 80. You were probably 50%.
Well, I played a lot with you, and then me and Luthien played quite a bit. Because you were
the last I remember you making it to.
I don't remember.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember. I made it pretty far though, and like
I think I was getting married. That's
that's a good reason. Yeah. But yeah, the open worldness of Elden Ring is just like, that was my favorite part, is just exploring and like sneaking through little pieces here and killing things there and looting this and picking up pieces of lore, and it's just it's way more engaging in that way than just, like you were saying, it's not linear, but you kind of have a set path you have to get through in Dark Souls to get to one boss, and then you're stuck there until you beat it. And that's your whole gaming, whereas in Elden Ring, if you get stuck on a boss, you can back up and spend 30 hours doing something else and then come back, or end up on another boss and beat that one.
Well, and the joke is that, so all you have to do to take a well-loved, cult followed game and make it mainstream is add a jump button.
Yeah. Who knew? But it's still Helldivers, okay, Russ? It's not Helljumpers.
Which one I can dive all I want. I just can't jump. The only reason is because like I like playing as like scout sniper.
Yeah.
When I can. And so just being able to jump to get to high ground without having to use the jump pack, that would be great.
It's a pretty decent mantle system. Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
jump.
But if it's higher than waist high, you can't get over it.
Well, yeah, I
And
mean,
even then, sometimes you get stuck trying to get over it. And
it's a lot of gear you're pulling up, man. That's
like,
heavy.
ah.
You break your shin bones.
I break my shin bones walking in that equipment. I mean,
Well, just for you, real quick, I was going through a lot of stuff that I've watched in the past, people streaming it and whatnot. And for me, for bosses, I think the one I had the most fun watching, just for the aesthetic of the boss, the music, the fight mechanics itself, how each phase drastically changes. Rykard, is that how you pronounce it? Rykard, Lord of Blasphemy, is a fucking cool ass. I don't ever want to do it. It looks dumb to be a participant in it, but that was so much fun to watch.
he's actually one of the easier bosses.
Which I would still
Simply
never beat him.
You get a MacGuffin as you enter his arena, which is a weapon meant to slay him.
Oh, okay, interesting.
And so, like, that's that wind
That's
sword.
Yeah. That like has a really farther range than you expect.
Which is actually a staple in the FromSoft games.
Yeah.
It is not the first time that they've had a MacGuffin sword that specifically is meant to take out a boss, and one that does wind attacks. It was the giant boss in Dark Souls 3. Like, you go under the ground, then you get there, and then there's a giant, and you do it with the onion bro.
Yes. Yeah, just how everything's slithering around itself, and it's just like, from an animation standpoint, that had to be a fucking nightmare. Well, any of these bosses that are like have the snakes attached to them and all that's like, it's just insane.
It probably had one of the most oh crap moments for me, which was when you finish the first phase and then he like sits up and there's a face on his belly and he reaches a hand that comes out of nowhere into the snake's mouth and rips free a giant sword.
Yes.
And just the amount of stuff that's in that second phase, because he's also calling spells out of the clouds above you.
The arena
and
changes.
Like, there are things tracking you. It's insanity. And one of my favorite boss fights. I mean, really, from the base game. Ooh, what is my favorite boss?
Yeah, from the base game, that'd be fun.
Probably Radon.
I
think Radon is my favorite.
Oh, yes.
You fight him on this massive battlefield, and you start way off in the distance, and you just, as you're approaching him, you're seeing him up on this mountaintop, and he's shooting great bows at you, and you're having to dodge them. But the whole premise of it is like, everybody's coming to kill him. So you're summoning all these NPCs that you've met along the way to help you take him down.
That's so bad.
And then you get up to him and he's riding this desiccated horse and he has no feet.
Itty bitty living space.
Itty bitty living space.
Yeah.
So probably Radon, because that was just a cool fight. And then he jumps up into the air and comes down in a meteor and cool.
Elden Ring. Hey, play it.
Elden Ring's good. Yeah, if you haven't played it, or if you have played it, now's a great time to jump back in. I would definitely recommend the DLC. It is tough. I know that's been a lot of people's gripes, that it's just crazy hard. And it is. But it's worth it. Yeah. It's got some great expansions to the lore.
Grind out those things you pick up to get more powerful and focus. Because I think I'm seeing a lot of people are diving in and going straight into boss fights. And it's like, just run around and collect all the other shit and become more powerful before you try, right?
And I mean, some people can do that. I mean, some people are just really good at this game. You know, like the guy who's doing no damage runs, right? Or, whatever. I'm not that good, but I certainly do love it.
Finishing it on a...
I'm willing to beat my head against the wall until I get through it.
Finishing it on a fishing controller, a DDR pad...
Yeah, I have no interest in ever doing that, to be honest with you.
Well, Rock Band drum set. Yeah, that's just fucking insane.
I just can't imagine, like... And I usually optimize my builds and, like, okay, like, the build that I'm running through right now was my Dark Paladin. So I went holy damage, holy spells, high strength. Strength was my main stat. Faith was next, but high health, stamina, and heavy armor. And that's still I run the Milady now. With I have holy damage on it, which I love. I love that freaking sword. It's just so much fun. And I alternate. I usually have a like a big great sword on standby. Blasphemous Blade was what I ran before, but now actually I picked up. There's a Night Terror armor set. Look it up. It looks awesome. It is basically Sauron, is what it is without a cape. And so what I'll do is I'll wear the Knight's Cavalry set.
Yes, that is 100% as you described.
With the Knight's Terror helm. And I'm like, doing that, I'm like, oh, I really want to do like a Sauron playthrough. And pick up like Black Flame, incantations, and stuff like that. It's pretty cool, isn't it?
That's super
like
cool.
The spiky crown that comes up. It's pretty neat. The silhouette of it is great for when you're like playing as the character and you have that with the Knight's Cavalry set and you've got this kind of tattered cape.
I want
and
that
this black patinaed armor.
I want that Raging Wolf armor. That looks badass.
The Raging Wolf armor is pretty cool too. That's I think that one's from the base game.
Oh, someone cosplayed it, of course. Holy shit, that looks so cool.
Yeah, there's some really like Elden Ring. Like it's a good game. Like as much as like maybe they do need to update their engine. I mean, we can see that based on the remake of Demon Souls. Demon Souls just looks good, and Elden Ring still looks good. It doesn't look as good as it could look, obviously. Yes. But they've built an engine where the game just works. And
at the end of the day, that's what you want, especially with, boss fights that have such high fidelity of moment to moment. Like you need it to just work.
Yeah. And it does. Like there are very few bugs. I know there are some glitches. There's some exploits that people use, like the waterfowl dance, to skip entire portions of maps when they're doing their speed runs and stuff like that. But it is just a good game, and it's mechanically sound, even though it may not be the best looking game out there. The design work is amazing. The characters are amazing. The lore is amazing. The combat is the best.
Skybox,
in my opinion, it has the best. FromSoft, they have the best combat in any game I've ever played. The best combat.
You need to play more games, dude. Jesus Christ.
God of War, and God of War Ragnarok are probably a close second.
That was really good, yeah. Well, anything else with the DLC, buddy?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay.
I mean, I've talked for like a solid hour.
You absolutely. It was such a fun reminiscence of how shows used to go, man. I thoroughly enjoyed myself. I didn't know anything, and I had a great time.
Okay, hopefully good. That translates I know I rambled a little bit. Yeah. I hope it sounds interesting. I hope my ramblings that I semi-coherently spewed on people sound good.
You sound smart, at least.
Unless it's somebody who actually plays the game and they're like, he had no idea what he was having talking about.
Well, that's the whole point. Not every episode is going to be for everyone. If someone can sit through the whole thing, proud of you. But there's going to be that listener that loves it as much as you and just fucking eats it up.
I hope so.
And here's your thoughts on the M names and goes, holy fuck. I didn't even think about that.
I hope I gave enough context for even the people who don't play Elden Ring to go, okay, like this is cool. Like I get what he's saying. I'm bored by it, but I get what he's saying.
Yeah, listen to this one while you're driving, maybe,
There you go.
Yeah.
Definitely do it while you got other tasks.
But not at 2 a.m. Don't drive at 2 a.m. Listen to Russell. Don't recommend
that's never a good idea.
No.
But you wanted to talk about Once Human, which I'm really excited to hear about.
Oh, yeah.
We still want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, we got a few minutes, I think. My wife won't kill me. I think we'll be okay. Yeah, so this we've had some pretty solid free to play games have launched recently. First Descendant, which is this everyone called it a Destiny clone, but it's definitely more like Warframe than Destiny. I popped into that for a second, and then all my friends started playing Once Human.
Was
I was
that
like,
good?
well, I guess I didn't get to play much of it. I did enjoy what I played. Like, it felt pretty smooth. I didn't play enough to have a lot of the stuttering I've heard a lot of people talk about. But the gunplay felt good. The abilities were cool. I liked the enemies that I'd fought. The questing was interesting. I dug that you could like walk up to a quest, and if there's a group of people that were in the middle of doing that, you could just join their group and just like run up to where they were in the area instead of just starting it fresh and going through. Or you can be in the world private by yourself, running around doing everything. I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And from what I could tell, you could unlock most everything by just playing, but you'd have to grind a shit ton. So, it didn't seem like a real pay to win. I've noticed a big swing in free to play games where it's more like a pay to cosmetic, which is like the best way to do these games. So
I'm fine with paying cosmetically
yeah.
because I don't feel like I'm behind.
Well, the other thing, there's obviously some like things that let you skip some grinding, but it doesn't like, it's not like you pay to have this weapon that makes you way better than everyone. Like you can pay money to like skip some, I don't know, or get some XP boosts or something, like stuff that if you want to put money in to just make it a shorter experience, you can, but it's not like making you way better. But anyway, I digress on that, but it's been cool to see that kind of change in free to play games recently, which is another one that launched is called Once Human, which is more of a like a survive. It's a survival MMO with some real Stranger Things vibes is how I would put it. Like the monster designs, things like that. So it's more of like, I'm not a guy that likes scary games, but it's just spooky enough that I can ride through it, And there's definitely been a few times where I'm like, what the fuck is that?
Aesthetic that I really, really like.
You would really like the aesthetic.
Dark, monstrous.
Yeah.
An ode to Lovecraft.
Exactly. And there's these cool things. So you have your base building, your leveling, crafting different weapons with different stats. You have mods you can put in all the different weapons and ammo and armor and, building up your house, building up your base, defense stuff. All that's in the game that you're used to. But the really cool mechanic they have is the deviants, which are like, I'm still figuring out the lore of it. The story is very fascinating, but there's so much going on that I'm still lost. You'd pick up on it pretty quick, I think. But
this is like the supernatural abilities.
Yeah, the supernatural thing going on. Some sort of experiment went awry at some point and ruined the world, and there's these deviant things running around that some of them are like really evil. Pausing.
What did you say? The experiment went what?
Went awry.
That is not what you
Ari?
said. You said Ari.
No. It went Ari Shafir. He's a comedian who wrote half the game. I'm very excited for how it went. Thank you for calling me out on that.
You call me out on that stuff all the time.
I know. That's why I said thank you. Jesus, Ross. Anyway, where was I?
An experiment went Ari.
Oh yeah, an experiment went area, and things went wrong.
Areola.
It went areola.
Went tits up, baby.
It went tits up. We're suckling the consequences right now. But yeah, so there's like there's bosses you can beat, and then you can like get like a small version of them. And there's combat deviants. There's like buff ones that work around your house. Not like, like, oh, I'm so fucking strong. But like there's ones that
buff.
Yeah. There's ones that are like passive around your base.
Passives.
So like, you have ones that can like passively will go mining around your base. And like you'll come back and in the box they live in, you can grab all the ore out of that. Or
wait. So are they creatures?
Yes, they're creatures.
And you keep them.
Yes.
You keep them in a box.
So
it's kind of like,
it's a glass box so they can see, right?
So it's kind of like Power World meets Lovecraft.
Yeah, that's a really good description. Yeah. Okay. But so like I have this giant fucking
Are there
cat.
Sexual deviants?
Not that I'm aware of yet, but I'm getting there. I mean, it's a Korean game. There has to be. but I have this giant fucking cat that walks around my base. It's jokingly huge. And the whole point of it is like if you lay down in your bed to rest, it comes and lays down next to you and like makes the stats go up quicker and whatnot and buffs you. But it just roams around your house.
Huge. Doesn't it kill you when it lays on you?
Apparently not. But like that's the thing is it's like dark and serious, but like randomly things will happen.
Like they suffocate you already.
You. But like, you know, I'm setting up turrets to defend myself against a mission that like spawns a bunch of stuff. And like you'll turn around and there's this like fucking 4 foot tall cat that's just like walking. You're like, what the fuck? Or like, you know, I killed this crazy boss. So like I walk up, I loot this chest, and there's this giant screen in front of it. And suddenly this monster comes creeping out of it that's like got speakers hanging off the side of its head and swinging.
I think I've seen this one.
15 feet tall. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on? And I killed it, and I got this giant fucking fish you use as a melee weapon. And I'm like, what? So, you know, you're running around with AKs and bows and crossbows and all that stuff, and then suddenly you have a giant fish. You know.
Have you run into the monster bus yet?
I have run into the monster bus. I tried to kill it before I realized it was friendly, and it has a daily. You could use it to move around the map, and it has a daily chest you can loot out of it. It just gives you some stuff, which is super cool. I did my first dungeon the other day, which the boss was. But I'm going to send you the intro cinematic for this fucking boss. It is so up your alley.
Yeah.
So the whole thing is this like. There's this team of scientists, and it absorbed all of them because it was pissed at what they're trying to do. Finally broke free, you know? So, like, the boss is this, like, yellow goo with armor pieces stuck to it, and its head is, like, 15 other people stuck inside it, like, rotating, which is badass. And it has this, like, shrunken one arm, and the other arm is a minigun that's blasting around. And so you can shoot like classic gaming stuff. You know, there's hot spots you can shoot, right?
Right.
And so you can shoot the minigun off and then pull it to you and then use it yourself on the boss, which is badass.
Yeah.
It was a super cool fight. The main thing I've heard is like these instanced fights are easier the first time, and then you can grind them from there to get other stuff, but I don't think it gets harder as time goes by, but when you're grinding it, it's a much harder fight. So I'm definitely looking at this next week, jumping in and playing it for the second time to see how much harder it gets.
Right.
But anyway, so there's combat deviants as well, which you have this cradle, which is a backpack that holds the combat one in it of your choice.
It's like a cat carrier.
Kind of. Yeah, basically.
Like one of those.
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. Yeah. 100% is what it is. So like the first one you start with is this like paper crane butterfly looking thing that'll like fly around. It'll make the hot spots glow, and then you do extra crit damage when you shoot them.
Okay. Yeah.
One I grinded for to unlock is if you got 200 melee kills, you got this fucking Russ, prepare yourself. This fucking shadowy samurai that's like 3 feet taller than you. And you can either lock onto an enemy and have it attack that thing, or just attack anything around you. And this thing will like literally like wisp out of the backpack, and it stands next to you and goes like, Hoyo! And then it just like shades away and then appears like slicing through stuff.
Neat. So kind of like a Ghost of Tsushima that like appears out of nowhere.
And it scares the shit out of me because the thing will die. And you're like, oh, I wonder where it went. And then all of a sudden you turn and it's just like standing behind you. Like, did I do good? You're like, fuck. Hey, buddy. How's it going? You're terrifying.
You did great.
Yeah. But if it's attacking something, you also get like 30% more melee damage against that enemy. So like if you run up with the samurai and you're bashing away, it does more.
And hit it with a fish.
Yeah. And hit it with a fish. There's another one that like it's this blob, just this big yellow blob that you can throw and create cover and walls and stuff.
Neat. Oh, that's
really cool. Yeah. And there's a few other ones that I just unlocked. Well, not unlocked, but caught. You know that I haven't been able to look into.
So can you only use one at a time, or
one
is
at
it
a
like
time?
A cooldown system, or
so there's one at a time. There's a cooldown on when you can use it. It's pretty fast. You can use them quite a bit. I usually only
Sure.
save it for like, big enemies and whatnot, because that's just how my brain works. But yeah, so
Right.
you can go back to your base, and you have your row of glass cages, right? And you can be like, hey, buddy, you're with me now.
So I'm assuming you can only equip a certain amount.
You can store as many as you want in your base, but you can
Right. I
only
meant like
bring
when
one
you're
at a
traveling
time
with
with
you.
you. Yeah, correct.
So you have some that are acting as passives on your base and on you, or just on like your
Just
base?
on so far as I'm aware, they're on the base. It's like I have
Okay.
one that like pulls stuff out of the ether. This like special item you can craft portals with to like bring your friends to you, which is cool.
Neat.
Another one that does the mining. Apparently, I think there's one that fishes. I just got one that is like it just looks around for lost items. So there's like a chance it can just appear with like really good stuff or just random collectibles that
Neat.
you need for crafting and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And I haven't, there's like, I go to my friend Josh's house that's next door to mine, and he's got a couple that I don't know what they like. There's one that's like it looks like a Christmas village, and I don't know what the fuck that does. He has this other one that
Causes
looks
it
like
to
this,
snow continuously.
maybe, I don't know. Or the gingerbread man jerks you off. I have no idea how this works. Cause that's the thing, is it could be like a demonic city, or it could be the most adorable thing ever. Like, you never know.
Right.
Just aesthetically, it's either super creepy or fucking slapstick, and I have no idea what to believe. But the story's been fun.
That's
Early on,
Korean. That
yeah,
tracks.
it definitely tracks. It's very much a Korean game, but very early on, you can unlock a
But I love that
motorcycle to
aesthetic.
groove you around, on the map
Yeah.
quicker. There's teleportation towers, so you have fast travel points. You have this. I'm trying to remember what the bird's fucking name is that like you're with from the beginning of the game.
It uses you glide with it, right?
You can
I
glide,
think I've
you can
seen-
jump, and you can glide with it and whatnot, and pick up quests from it. The story's this really cool. Like, there's this group of people that were trying to save everything, and then they disappeared, and then like you're the first like one of them coming back, and everyone's shocked that you're there.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So you're like slowly building that up and helping out different settlements, and there's you have your main quest line. There's a bunch of side quests with different things going on for different people, which are also very interesting. It does some world building, like this lighthouse that was in my family forever. I just came back and I want to know if it's safe. You go in there and like the ghost of their great grandfather is still there wreaking havoc, and you help him out with another side quest, which then unlocks that. You go back to the other person and tell them the whole thing, and they're like, "Oh my god, that's so cool!" And apparently that sometime in the future makes the lighthouse another settlement, which I'm pretty stoked about. But then you also have these different towns or whatever areas within the map that have their own objectives in it. So like this, I'm not sure what they do yet, but this is like this rift station you turn on, which somehow like condenses the whatever bad juice going on in the sky. I'm still figuring out the lore. I'm very lost. There's a lot to read.
The bad juice.
The bad juice.
It's out there.
It's out there. Yeah, the stuff that makes things dangerous for people to exist. And then there's always like some mini boss in the area, and then like a gear chest and a loot and a gun chest you have to loot in the whole area, and usually a side quest in that area too. So you're running around the map doing all those side areas with the side quest, the main story, and then when you finish a zone, there's like the boss in the middle. That you go into this giant monolith, and they have like a crafting room in there, everything you need to like prep yourself for the boss fight, and then you go in and queue in either by yourself or with random people or your team or whatever, and then fight the boss and then grind him over and over and over if you want for different deviants that are combat or passive or cool weapons, upgrade stuff. There's a million currencies as free to play games are. The thing I've been really impressed with is obviously there's a battle pass system, but the free version of the battle pass also has something you unlock every level, where you'll see a lot of them will be like every 8 levels or something. Yeah. And then there's nothing for 15. So there's stuff that's useful because you have your, you need to eat, you need to drink. is a mechanic, so you get like really good high tier food and beverages and stuff from the battle pass, stuff you used to craft. There's actually cosmetic stuff in the free battle pass that's also really cool. The cosmetic shop, obviously that exists. I haven't done the math on how much like a skin costs. I don't think it's going to be one of those where it's like $50 a skin, but I haven't seen clickbaity articles about that. But the skins are very, Korean, that exists there. So, that could be fun. And also there's some pretty creepy ones and really badass ones, than ones that are just hilarious, like this, like an e-girl and like some cowboy with, whatever's going on there. But and there's just a lot of other mechanics in the game that are really interesting to unlock things. There's this journey system that like guides you into doing different mechanics in the game to give you extra XP and other items. It's like I've gotten like eight levels from just doing this journey thing, and just figuring out different things and whatnot. And
the kind of typical survival game.
Yeah.
Hey, go build a hatchet. Go build
Exactly.
a house. Go rest by a fire.
You can harvest. You can put out like a rain catcher that catches rain that makes dirty water. Then you go to their stove. You make it boiled water. You can, and then store it somewhere else. And you can add. The cooking is actually really intricate. Like there's drying racks where you have to get sea salt to put it in that with the meat, which then creates certain food. And on the stove itself, you can combine a bunch of different items to create different recipes that give you better stats. Increases, obviously how much your food bar goes up. That's just the basic stove. There's an electric stove you unlock later on that has other stuff. The crafting
feels like a little bit like Conan Exiles. They do.
Yeah.
They had a thing like that.
Yeah,
where
kind
you
of like
had
that.
The food was a big thing, right?
Yeah.
You can have food that'll keep you alive, but then you can get recipes to help you survive better in other environments or boost certain stats or.
Yeah. And I dig, it's got a real like Division vibe to it with a third person where you have like your weapon, your two main weapons and a melee weapon. It's not cover based like you had in Division, but it definitely, that third person view is very reminiscent of that, where you have the backpack and your weapons. The combat feels really good. Guns feel excellent in third person. You can hold down right click to get that kind of zoomed in third person.
Right.
You can tap it to actually ADS, which is really awesome for like sniping or really any of your guns you're using. There's a bunch of different
right click.
Yeah. So you can tap it to kind of like go into actual like aim down sights mode, or just more condensed third person. A bunch of different attachments you can craft, you can buy that do different things for your weapons, like suppressors, sights, extended mags, that kind of thing. The mod system is really intricate. You can craft mods, you can upgrade mods, you can tear mods down to build mods you need. So it's like it's got a ton of stuff going on and everything feels really put together. I've been really enjoying myself. It's been a great game to like, I have 30 minutes. I can log in, do some things in my base, go out, like do one of those little town things I was talking about with like the different chests. There's a mini boss. Come back to my base. I get a bunch of stuff from doing that. And then, work on crafting from there, leveling up. Or I can sit down and accidentally play for 9 hours and can, push the story and really grind shit out. I've been really enjoying myself. I think let me see how many hours I put in on accident. And we're only in week 2 of the game officially being launched. Yeah, I
would really love to play this game, but I'm maining Mass Effect right now in preparation for our show next week.
I'm excited,
on
man.
Pharos.
You're getting there, buddy. Pharos. Nice, dude. But yeah, I'm 25 hours in, and we just started week 2 of the game. And that's I don't play games that often. So to have it where like every moment I'm like, I've got 30 minutes. I can sneak in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm excited to see, as definitely as I've heard, as you get to higher levels, like it definitely ramps up in difficulty very fast. My wife's getting ready to go to work, and I'm going to kiss her goodbye. You're in charge, Russ.
I'm in charge. I don't know anything about Once Human. I have been playing a lot of Mass Effect lately. I really miss Helldivers. Like that's a thing I'm missing a lot. Jules is saying Once Human is amazing. I really want to play it. Like this sounds like something that's right up my alley. I really love this kind of I like Lovecraftian things. I like monsters. Monsters are my thing, man. Like, I just really love monsters. I've seen, like, the monster bus we were talking about earlier is like all these legs and arms, and then there's like a bus attached to it, and it just kind of walks along. And I was watching a video, and I was like, I really love this. And like Fudd was talking about, like, I've seen some of these that look like this ghoul, and it kind of looks like the Demigorgon from the Upside Down, but instead of like the plant fish or plant piranha like face, it's a bunch of stereo systems and like electronic gear, which is just freaking cool. You know, we were talking about the First Descendant a little bit earlier. That one was another one that kind of caught my eye. I I just Once Human I liked because of the monster aesthetic and the aesthetic of it, but
And the
I'm really not a
survival
shooter
aspect.
guy.
Yeah.
Like, other than Helldivers and being made to play Mass Effect, I would, you know, much rather be sword and board.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you could go full melee if you wanted, which is great. But again, the
And
survival
you
aspect
really,
of it is real. Oh yeah, if there's a really good, not really good, but there's a decent stealth mechanic, where you can get behind an enemy if you can sneak up on them and like insta like
right?
take them down and just beat the shit out of things. And you can put stats into, your being health and stamina and, doing more damage and crit damage with melee weapons. So
Sure.
you could build yourself to be pure fish boy if you wanted.
I would love. You know, it kind of reminds me of Cyberpunk 2077. Uh, I don't know if you ever played this part or got to this part, but if you complete a side quest, you you get a melee weapon that is a large purple dildo.
Yes, 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 yes.
You can run around and smack people with, and it's actually got like great stats.
So
One of
good.
the best melee weapons in the game.
Oh, this is a mechanic that you will love being a From Software guy, actually. I thought of
I am
you when
not
I first
sure.
saw that.
I like where this is going, considering we just talked about a large purple dildo. Okay, keep going.
My brain goes everywhere. It's okay. So, as you're aware, right? Dark
Mhm.
Souls, Elden Ring, you
Yep.
can have your little 3 lines that has a message.
Oh
Fucking duck, there's
yeah.
a chest up ahead. So you can set these little,
Yeah.
they're super cheap to
Jump off
make.
this cliff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
There's
yeah.
treasure.
But so you can make these little, it looks like a blue and yellow neon flower that comes out of the ground. That's something someone could put down and leave a message. Or you can actually take a picture in game and leave that there, which is really cool. But it's fun to be like working through something and like you go around a corner and then there's just like 50 flowers and you're like, fuck, there's something about to go down, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
in that same vein of like Dark Souls with the blood splashes, like, oh no.
But like, no, it was cool. Like I got to the second zone and like set up my base on some beautiful beachfront property. I'm really proud of how I set my house up. And like, it's nice to log in and there'll be like 3 or 4 new ones like in my area. And I'll go read it. It's just people will be like, that's a really sweet house. Like just saying nice stuff about your base and stuff. I'm like, aw, that's cool. Like, it's fun.
So,
And
question:
yeah.
Is it PvP,
So
PvE?
there are PvP servers where it's PvP all the
Sure.
time.
Yeah.
And there are PvE servers, right? There is a PvP mechanic where there's some sort of item in the game that's very high tier to get. And it's at like very high levels. But apparently if you acquire this, it forces PvP to be turned on for you for like a set amount of time for you to like get back to your base with it or something. Kind of like, remember in like Red Dead Online, if someone was doing a wagon, like
Yeah.
it'd pop up
Yeah.
red that like so-and-so
Yeah.
is running this thing and you could like go try and take it. Kind of like that.
Right.
Where it
Okay.
forced PvP to be turned on for you because you have this item. And if people want to engage with you because they also want to steal that item, they can. Or you're on a PvE server where people are like, yeah, I don't care,
Right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But I watched the video for the first time last night of someone like doing high level on a PvP server, and it was nutty to watch.
Oh, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, you have to fight to survive. My dog is
Well,
going apeshit above my head right now.
I mean, like I said, it really seems like something that would be up my alley. I'm hoping that once Fudd stops being a slave driver, and I can finish Mass
Yeah,
Effect.
Mister, I'm going to wait till the last week to start playing this game. It's all my fault because you procrastinated. You're right. Remember when I messaged you? I was like, hey, game club would be fun. What about Mass Effect? And you were like, fuck yeah, dude, I'm there. My.
Yes, I do remember that.
How the tune changes.
How the turntables have turned.
Exactly. But yeah, hey. The mechanic that a lot of people have been like turned off from the game about, I guess, is every 6 weeks is a new season and they do a wipe.
Wipe. I've heard that.
I've heard that. So a lot of people hear wipe and assume that's just like getting rid of everything. So it's basically every season you're not starting brand new. Like you remember all your blueprints of everything you've unlocked, you know, how to craft everything. You just don't have your stuff, right? Because how the premise is every season is a new story, a new, I can't remember what the word I'm going for is. A new scenario, I think is the word they use for how the world is working. I dig that because you have your, like a spawn camp you can put in. So if you're going to do a town, you can set a spawn camp where you can craft really rudimentary things and make a spawn point. Then you have your seasonal
like a
base.
Table.
Yeah, kind of thing with a tent attached to it. You have your seasonal base, which is what I'm working out of now. And then they're adding in this extra zone that's going to be like a permanent area. So like if you have stuff you want to hold on to, you build a base in this area that stores your forever stuff. And then everything you have in your seasonal base you're aware of, you can craft it again, but it's all going to go away after the wipe. So it's one of those mechanics that like on paper sounds kind of funky, but I'm kind of like, I'm in the boat of like, I'm going to watch and see how it's done before I pass judgment on whether this is bullshit or not. Because it could be because I've never heard of a game with that fast of a wipe cycle. The only game I've played that has a wipe is Star Citizen, and that's because it's an alpha, you know. So we'll see. I'm kind of at that point where I'm like, I'll just see how it goes. But yeah, I'd love the idea of, because you get your base so far that you don't want to rebuild everything. So I like the idea of like having some ideas of how you'd like to improve your base. And then when it gets wiped, the next season you go, all right, I'm going to try a whole different way of putting my base together. And then whatever changes happen with the story and the world and et cetera that happens. But yeah, I'm excited to see how it goes.
Well, and I can get why. One, it ties in with the story, right? You're this hero who went off to do this thing. They all disappeared. Now they're back.
Yeah.
Right? I could see that being the cycle that they do every 6 weeks, right? Because it's like, at the end of the cycle is you go, you fight this boss, and then it's like, okay, now it's a wipe. And you've now come back, right? Here is the reiteration of what happened last time. And maybe that's the premise that they're working towards, is trying to now find a way, like, how do we stop this from happening every time?
Yeah.
Right? I can see that being a thing. But I can also see from a mechanical standpoint of, we're going to do this every 6 weeks because, like, Conan Exiles, things like that. Valheim, right? You build a base, it's your main base, but then you kind of get bored of it.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
You're like, I like, part of the thing is I like building, right? And so you're like, well, you got to go find another space and go and build. But then if you have dedicated servers, they get filled up, right? And if they don't have a decay system that breaks down those things over time, might as well just do a 6-week wipe, right? Nothing decays, so you don't have to worry about anything being broken down or broken into. And you know what? We'll just do a wipe.
Yeah.
And then you can rebuild.
Yeah, and I'm excited, especially for the first wipe, because of course, when a new game launches, you have 1 million people that try it, play it for 4 hours, and then leave. So when you're driving around the map, there's a fucking half-assed built base every 8 feet. So it's the second zone not as bad. I've heard, obviously as you get higher level, because less people progress that far, that it's not of a problem. But when you first start in, it's like, it's seriously just like 1-story houses or like a wood base with a crafting table on it every 5 feet, and you're just like, fucking shit. So the first wipe, very necessary, because then people who just want to play will still be there, and then the servers will be available for people that want to jump in. Because the sad thing right now is all the servers are like full from what I've heard. It's like a bunch of my friends that are like, I want to get into this game after I did, like, we can't until the wipe happens, basically, like no one can even get into the game unless they do something
Right.
the next couple weeks, so that's kind of a bummer.
Well,
But
now I guess now I can't join your server.
yeah, I don't think anyone can.
Even when
I'll
I
look
finish
into it.
Mass Effect.
You might as well finish it, I guess.
Might as well finish Mass Effect.
Might as well. I guess I'll read your fucking book. Jesus Christ. But yeah, so far I've loved losing myself in it. I like survival games, so it's nice to have another one. And then, of course, free games are free. I'll try it out.
Yeah.
So yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it, and people should attempt to get into it if they can. I'll do some research if they fix that or not, but that was a week ago was last time I heard. So
Sure.
I don't know what this
I'm
company's
starting
done.
to get the hankering to play Conan Exiles again. Hearing you talk about a survival game, I'm like, oh, you know what I haven't played in a while?
Okay, yeah.
Conan Exiles.
Conan Exiles. Wheel of Torture. Turn, turn, turn. Tell us the
slave that you'll have
earned.
There you go.
Earned. Yeah, that works. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Right on, Russ. Well, anything else you want to hit on this episode, brother? Besides each other?
I always want to hit on you. No, I think we hit all the things we wanted to.
Right on.
And it went for way longer than I thought it was going to.
Yeah,
I was
told
like, I don't know if
Lisa,
I'm going to have enough Elden Ring stuff to talk about.
I know. I was like, it'll be like an hour tops, babe. Like there's no way you're going to go to work before we're done. And here we are 2.5 hours later. I was like, oh, it's me and you, dude. We can do this.
Every time, man. Yeah. Every time.
Never fails. Never fails.
Especially when we're actually able to have a conversation without it freezing.
Yes.
Or stuttering.
You sounded so good. You didn't stutter once. Legitly, the years of podcasting we've got done together. Better butter.
That's probably the best.
This is the best you've ever sounded, looked. I love this. I'm glad but God damn, your hair is beautiful.
Thank you.
How's I did want to ask you, how's Gideon's speech?
He was doing really good. We moved into the new house, and he took several steps back as far as like eating, right? Because that's the thing, right? For those of you who don't know, my son was born 3 months early, and so he had really bad reflux. It's something that we've struggled with. So he currently does not eat by mouth. He has a G tube, right?
Yeah.
Plungs directly into his stomach. When we feed him, we put a formula into a tube and let it drain into his stomach, right? That's how we feed him. He never took to a bottle, absolutely hates bottles, won't have anything to do with them. We have gotten him to get used to sippy cups a little bit.
Oh, yeah,
right?
I love sippy cups.
We're working on, sometimes he'll really take to them, sometimes he just wants to play with it. He hasn't quite learned that he needs to tip it up to get stuff out. Okay. So that's something we've been working with him on. Where and he will I'll go to tip it up for him, and he's like, no, I'll do it. I'm okay, man.
You're not capable of this, Dad.
Right. So actually, what I did the other day was I'd give it to him, and he'd put it in his mouth. So I would hold him, and then I would tip him.
That's brilliant.
And then he the first time I did it, he went,
huh. Something's happening.
What just happened?
He just discovered gravity.
Right. So he was doing really good. He would eat. Not a lot, but he would eat. And almost every meal. We moved into the new house, and I don't know if it's because it was a new environment or if there was something that happened where he choked on something, but he just reverted. So he then his reflux got really, really bad again, which he had not had reflux in a long time.
Yeah.
For a few weeks. And so we were super excited, and then something happened. I don't know what it was. Don't know how it happened, but he seems to have reverted a little bit. But I mean, other than that, and right now we're working with him, and it's one of those things where it's every time he takes a bite of something, we're like, yay, we try to celebrate.
Yeah,
yeah, you're doing so good, buddy. Good job. And that seems to have an effect. And also, one of the things that I realized over the last couple of days, today, I was Lindsay was getting ready. She was doing a girls' night out kind of thing.
Yeah.
Right. So I had Gideon. She was getting ready to leave. I had gone out to get some stuff from Home Depot, and then I had like a super bad blood sugar crash, like almost fainted in Home Depot. And I was like,
yay!
So I went to Cane's because I was like, I'm super hungry. I'm super wiped out. I'm going to get some sugar in my system. I went to Cane's, which, for those of you who don't know what Cane's is, it is the best chicken strip place ever. It's mostly the sauce.
That sauce is so good. That bread, though.
Good. The bread is really good. I think it's a good combo with the chicken tenders. But for me, it's the sauce. It's a nostalgia thing. Growing up, they always had M&M sauce.
Yeah.
Where I grew up. So, in Alabama. Anyway. So, what I realized today was I had like a little video I was watching play on tabletop. And they do Warhammer. And so I was watching that, and he was just sitting in my lap, and I would eat a chicken finger. I'd take a bite of it, and then I would just, he's sitting here, and I'd rest it. Nobody can see this on the camera. I'd rest it close enough to his face to where if he reached for it and took a bite, he could get it. And at first, he kind of shook his head, right? He does that a lot when we offer him food. He'll.
Yeah.
And so, but I just kind of left it there, and then I'd take a bite of it and leave it. And he went and took like a huge bite, so he took a couple of bites like that. So it seems like if we don't make a big deal about it, and it's just kind of like, hey, here's a distraction. We'll have something kind of entertaining playing, and the food is here if you want it. That seems to work in some ways. But anyway, it's a struggle we're working through for sure. It's been really hard on Lindsay lately.
Absolutely.
To deal with that, to go,
revert,
okay, because, well, for her, it's a lot like, I'm his mother. My only goal is to make sure he's happy and healthy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
That's it. And I can't feed him. Like, he won't let me feed him. So that's been really hard for her. It's been a struggle, definitely. For me, it's like, I hate that he's reflexy, and I hate that he's uncomfortable.
Yeah, for sure.
And it's kind of like, I mean, it's kind of that weird thing where it's like, if he had not been born premature and it had not been something they were watching out for, would it be as big of a deal as it is now? Right? Because they'd probably just be like, oh, he's super picky.
Yeah, exactly.
But he definitely doesn't eat. And so it's like, it's one of those things where it's like, we really want to get to the point where we can, hey, let's get you to where you eat. But that's the way his speech is going. Sorry, that was a long...
Yeah.
Sorry
that's happening. Well, no, I'm sorry that's happening, but I don't know what that has to do with his speech and how he talks.
Oh, he never had anything. Oh.
Does he say words?
Because he goes to speech therapy for his eating. So that's what I thought you were talking about.
Nope, definitely wasn't. But thanks for taking us down that road.
Deal with the soft palate and everything.
Yeah.
So when you said speech, because that's what we call it for shorthand, when we take him to speech therapy every week, he's got speech, Yeah.
So
that when you asked, that's what I thought you were talking about.
I'm with you now. Does he say words?
The whole time you're like, what the hell?
What? I mean, you're my friend and I care, but I was like, what does this have to do with him talking? I spent the whole time waiting for it to come full circle.
To speak. Yeah. How is it? How is his speech? Because he should be talking by now, or at least more and more every day. Like it's really kind of crazy to watch him develop.
Yeah.
In that he and even just like over the last few weeks where he's like, he knows what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If I say, because before it'd be like, I'd say, no, don't do that. I wouldn't expect him to know what I
that
meant.
means. Yeah.
But I've noticed, I'll be like, hey, like he'll be in the other room, right? We just kind of let him wander, We can usually hear if he's getting into something because our house is super echoey. So if he goes somewhere and I hear he's getting into the dog food, and I'll be like, no, Gideon, don't do that. Now he'll actually come around the corner. and like it's like he understands what I'm saying, and we've been very lucky because he also seems to want to. Yeah, okay, you said no, I get it. Like
Yeah.
I won't do that. Thank goodness.
It's exciting for him to understand what's being said. Yeah.
Right. And like little things like I'll say he's started giving kisses
Oh, I
when he
love
feels
that.
like it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, give me a kiss. It started the other day because like he would give kisses before. It was usually like this.
Wide up. Yeah, yeah. Whole mouth.
Yeah. And so the other day I went because I gave him a kiss and then he was walking away from me and he was going, and I was like, give me a kiss, buddy. And he came over and he went,
Oh.
so that's made my day. And usually he'll do it if I ask him to. And
Yeah.
usually he won't do it if Lindsay asks him to. And it's, I don't want to say it makes my day, but it
does. We all know. We all know. We all know. Does he say
Uh,
anything yet?
like he knows dad and mom.
Okay, good.
He doesn't really call me dad. He calls me dad.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
So he'll walk like when Lindsay gets him up in the morning. I'm usually still in bed, so he'll walk in there and be like, Dad.
I love
And
that.
like when I walked in the door today, and he goes, "Hi." So he's starting to pick up on those things. Hi, Dad, Mom. He knows cracker, so I'll be like, "You want a cracker?" And he'll go, "Cracker, cracker."
Oh, I thought it's racial slurs. Picks up on those real fast.
He's starting to get to that mimic where he's trying to mimic what we're saying.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Which is the best phase.
And it's certain words and something. So that's where his speech is at. He knows hi. He doesn't say bye a lot, but he will when he feels like it. Bye.
Okay, so we're not to a point where we can get him to say story time yet, right?
No, I can work on that though.
Okay, let's work on that. Because I'd love for this next series of JSG to be him saying story time.
Story time. Okay.
Yeah, we'll work on
I'll
it.
work on it. He does love books.
Well, yeah, you're his dad.
Gideon, so
no, for sure.
When I need to change his diaper, as soon as I put him on the table, he's like, ah! And what I'll do is, you want a book? And he'll nod at me. And then I go and I get him a book, and he'll sit there and, like he's flipping through a magazine sitting on the toilet. It is the best.
I fucking love it. I come down there and visit.
Yeah, you do.
I do. It'll happen, buddy. Don't you worry.
Okay. Anytime we've got the spare bedroom.
I know. Not you're in the house.
And a bed.
Yeah, I love that. I'm gonna make an effort to come down there next year.
Okay. You're welcome anytime.
Hell yeah, dude. Let's start trying to get out of here. I got to walk a dog and put kids to bed.
Are you sure? I could keep going.
I know you can. I'm very aware that you can. No matter what I brought up, dude, we could talk about 2-ply toilet paper, and that'd be another hour of the show. Easily.
No, I'm just kidding.
I know. Once my brain said 2-ply, and the other half of my brain went, "That's poop." No, don't bring that up with Russ. Game over, man. Game over.
Game over, man. Game over.
I did take a shit in a porta potty earlier today, though. That was so liquidy. I think I was the first. When they're freshly cleaned. I'm in public restrooms a lot, right?
Yeah.
It was so clean. I'm pretty sure I was the first person to shit in it. I stood up. Obviously, I had to look because I know how it felt coming out, and it looked like pancake batter.
Gross.
I just thought I'd share that story with you. Anyway, hey Russ, if people want to find you, where can they do that?
You can find me on the Discord, of course, at Jackal72590. This is the one I'm usually the most active in. I don't have my own channel or anything. I don't got time for that. But I'm pretty active in here. I've got some other friends that I'm active on. But yeah, if you want to get a hold of me, that's how you get a hold of me. In Discord. I don't have my notifications turned on, so chances of you actually getting a hold of me through Discord, very poor.
He'll answer someday.
I usually check it every couple of days. Because we are usually discussing the podcast, I check it more often than I used to.
Oh, that makes me happy.
I need to check and see where we're at and see if everything's good. Because I also know it's the best way to get a hold of you. Because sometimes you answer text, sometimes you don't, but Discord you usually answer.
Yeah, that's true. Well, and I also like we can text back and forth ideas, and then we lose them. So I like having that channel where me and you just put our ideas for the podcast, and we can just scroll through and find it instead of the other 800 text messages or whatever of dick pics and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can also find me on Twitter at drjex. That's JEX7250. Oh crap!
That sounds right.
I think that's what it is.
That takes me back.
Relatively active on Twitter. I mostly follow a lot of comic book artists.
0725. Close.
0725. But yeah, I'll try to be responsive.
Yeah.
I enjoy talking to people. I enjoy meeting new people. So if you have any questions about my book, if you want to be a beta reader, let me know.
Do it. I'm excited to read it this week, as I solemnly swore. And if I don't read it this week, Russ, I owe you some hot fries.
Oh my god! And a Coke Zero.
And a Coke Zero, buddy.
Yeah, okay.
I love you so much.
For those of you who haven't listened to the show for forever, about 100 episodes ago, which would be the equivalent of like 10
8 years
ago.
Yeah.
ELMMERFUDD, I won a game show. Cheated, but I won the game show, and the deal was I get hot fries and a Coke Zero.
It got lost in the mail. I don't know what to tell you. Yeah. Checks in the mail. You're beautiful. Don't ever change. You know what I mean.
Actually, I could believe that, because if anybody would know how to get something lost in the mail, you would.
Me. Yep. Yeah. I could lose it myself.
You're like,
I just had some hot fries and a Diet Coke on my break at work. Were they meant for you? Maybe. Who knows? Well, thank you all for joining us for episode 118 of Just Some Gamers. When we do the show, we are live at twitch.tv/ELMMERFUDD Games, normally Thursday nights at 7 Mountain, 8 Central, and 9 Eastern. Is that time zones correctly?
Very good.
I did it. Thank you, buddy. You can find the show on all your podcatchers. It exists out there, friends. If you want to email us, you can at ELMMERFUDD. Just some gamer. Don't email us. Fuck off. Don't email us. I don't fucking know.
Just some gamers. Just some gamers at gmail.com.
Yep. That's the one. As for myself,
my wife is over here making lewd hand gestures at me.
As she should, dude. I've been doing it the whole time. As for myself, I'm ELMMERFUDD. You can find me on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, all those places. I'm extremely tired at ELMMERFUDD Games. Double M, double D. Russell, take us out.
Join us next week on Just Some Gamers for mutual chaos and utter incompetency.
Yeah. Hey, Sweaty Spooks, if you listen to this, where's our song, dude?
Yeah, man.
I'm getting a real gunbait vibe from you right now.
I was just going to say that.